Hello, hello. We are in for a horrible time today, let me tell you. But in the good way. So, I had a thought to myself, I'm like, I wonder how long I could conceivably ramble about Warhammer 40k. So, over the past week or so, I've gathered a bunch of cool images and stuff, wrote down some very light notes, and we're gonna see how this goes. Might be thinking, why am I doing this? Well, I think the Warhammer 40k lore is very interesting. It's there have been books written on it. There's so many different sides to it. It's not just with humans, both the Xenos, as they call them, the other alien races. And I think as grim dark as it is, I really think it says a lot about like the human spirit and how far we can persist in terrible, terrible times. And I think that's inspiring for what it's worth, even if the tales are anything but. Warhammer 40k was made by Games Workshop, which was a UK-based company, and literally all this war exists so they can sell more overpriced figurines to you in order to have you play more Warhammer. And another thing to point out is Warhammer 40k lore is notoriously difficult to explain because there are so many bits and pieces. It's like A is connected to B, but to understand B, you need to know about D. But D only happened because of Q. It's just a huge jumbled mess. So there's going to be a bit of jumping back and forth between times and whatnot. But unfortunately, it's the only way to keep things somewhat coherent. Holy crap, I guess we're about to start. Oh yeah, and also, pretty much all of this is going to come from my memory. I wrote some light notes, like names of people, and I'm probably going to bring up the wiki at some points just to like bring up different quotes and stuff. But all of this comes from my memory, so you could be as impressed or horrified with that as you wish. And with that preamble out of the way, I forgot to put on the background music. We can begin. Let's put it there. That's good. Okay. Our tale begins. So, the best way to start explaining the Warhammer 40k universe is to start at the beginning. So, 60 million Terran years ago, in the Milky Way galaxy, we are set in the Milky Way galaxy. This is where everything 40k is concentrated in. And there are multiple different stories with different sectors of the Milky Way galaxy within it. Now, our story begins 60 million Terran years ago. We call it Terran because the main planet, Earth, in 40k is called Terra, and as you know, circling around the sun, varies from planet to planet in our solar system. So in 40k they say Terran years or Terran weeks, blah blah blah. Okay, so our story begins 60 million Terran years ago with the Necron tier. And you see, the Necron tier were a doomed race of Xenos. They had sickly bodies, as their planet was too close to the sun. They were very exposed to the elements, solar flares, all that crap. And they evolved, to be an intelligent species, but their whole society revolved around death. They live extremely short lives before they die from old age or disease. At most, they would live till 30. And they had like huge tomb worlds, they called them, where just there would be like layers and layers of tombs, like kind of like the catacombs in France, but for weird Necron tier people. And they were also split between a bunch of different dynasties, I believe they were called. But they had one dream: to live immortal lives, to be free from their mortal coils, and grasp the concept of immortality. And that would come in the way with the arrival of the Old Ones. Now, this would be a good place to point out that due to how long and far the 40k universe stretches, the records kept by humans are very bad. And we kind of uncover new things here and there as we go, but we are only really running off the information that we know of from the 40k universe. And from an out of character perspective, this actually allows for a lot of variance within the universe, finding out new things which we might not have known before, yada yada yada. I'm not gonna stick on that for too long. But anyways, I say that because the Old Ones, we actually don't know a lot about the Old Ones. All we know is that they were the first galactic intelligent xenospecies in the Milky Way galaxy. And I say xenos as just for aliens. And they were on a quest for knowledge. They wanted to know everything there was about the world. And lo and behold, the Old Ones stumbled upon the Necrontyr. And the Necrontyr, they might as well have viewed these people as gods for their vast technology and knowledge. And they went, please give us the secrets to immortality and free us from our mortal coils, from our pain, from our woes, from our sickly bodies. Allow us to fulfill ourselves to the greatest of our potential as we have evolved in spite of our struggles, not because of them. And the Old Ones said, lol, no, and they left. Yeah. Didn't go very well. Now, as you can probably assume, the Necrontyr were not very happy about this. So how do we say this? The Necrontyr were already split between various different dynasties. They had been warring against each other and whatnot. And the Silent King, his name might have been Nagash, we'll just call him the Silent King. But the Silent King actually saw an opportunity with the departure of the Old Ones in order to unite the warring Necrontyr tribes. So he declared unilateral war against the Old Ones. This went about as well as you could expect it. This is the equivalent of a child with a water pistol against a U.S. Army regiment. It wasn't going to go well from the start. It was kind of more of a political tactic with the slim chance, hey, maybe we can pull out a win. This did not work out well at all. The Necrontyr really got boned by the Old Ones. And this is how it was going for a while. Until the Necrontyr came across the Catan. Now, the Catan were space gods, is the simplest way to put it. They were the space gods of the Materium. And they were actually able to capture one of these space gods. And the Silent King told them about the struggles with their mortal bodies, and the Catan said, okay, let me present you a deal then. In exchange for all of your souls, I will grant you what you so desire, which is immortal bodies in order to live. Now, selling the souls of your entire species, a little bit dicey of a decision. However, one, they were getting their asses kicked by the Old Ones, and two, this is kind of what they always wanted. They wanted their immortal bodies. So the Silent King, this is one of the devices they used to capture the Catan. So the Silent King decided to shake the devil's hand and, in the process, doom the species of the Necron tier. So, it is with this, the Catan sucked up all of the Necron tier souls and had their minds transferred to Necron bodies. These metal hunks of machine. And it is with that, but that marks the end of the Necron tier and the birth of the Necrons. The Silent King didn't know this, but he had just doomed his species to be slaves to the Catan, as they used them to wage war against the Old Ones. Very grim, and we haven't even really started yet. So, yeah, that happened. The Silent King did some other stuff before he was like, yeah, I think I messed up here, and he put himself to self-exile. And the ensuing conflict between the Necrons and the Old Ones was, in all future records, called the War in Heaven. And it was called the War in Heaven because it was so unimaginably destructive and terrible that it was the equivalent of the devil fighting God himself. So millions, billions, probably even trillions of lives were lost in the conflict between the Old Ones and the Necrons. And whole new species were created by the Old Ones in order to assist their plight against the Necrons. And as you can imagine, this went on for a long time, probably a couple million years if I remember correctly. So the Silent King, with one of his last decrees, did this with the Necron people. He was like, alright guys, I mean, I kind of messed up here. We've been fighting this war for like a couple million years now. We're also kind of slaves to the Catan, or at least this one. So here's what I suggest: everyone go to bed. Oh, go to sleep. Go to your two worlds and just go to sleep. And we're just gonna wait for this whole conflict to end. And we'll wake up millions of years later when all our enemies are dead, and then we can continue with our galactic empire. Honestly, pretty amazing strategic move, I have to say. You know, hate your enemies, just go to bed for 60 million years, why not? So they reside to all of their two worlds. And this kind of became a problem later on, because I'm pretty sure it was humans who kind of, during one of their little archaeological expeditions on other planets, came across a two world, which woke up the Necrons, and that kind of caused a chain reaction of all the outer Necrons waking up, and yeah, you know what happened from there. Alright, so that's the end of the Necrons for now. We'll probably bring them up again way later. Now, there's another thing you need to know about the 40k universe. And that is that there is this thing called the Immaterium, also known as the Warp. And while space and everything we are is part of like the material, the Warp represents the immaterial, and it is made up of souls. So when you die, your soul literally gets transferred to the Immaterium in the form of raw psychic energy. And I bring this up because, as you can imagine, with a huge space war going on for possibly millions of years that caused like billions upon trillions of people dying, that's a lot of souls going into the warp, and it kind of screwed everything up. And I'll also mention it's the Old Ones saying no to the Necrons here really just doomed the galaxy to eternal war, as you'll see later on. So all of these great souls getting sucked into the Immaterium really messed things up, and it messed things up so bad that entire gods were created from how much the Immaterium was disrupted. The first god of these is Khorne, the god of war. As you can see here, him sitting on his mountain of skulls. And now Khorne, he loves war. He loves blood. He loves fighting. There is nothing better than war and fighting and blood. So, yeah, you can see why you would be a big fan of the war in heaven and all that. Now, the second god that got created, a little voice crack there, blank. The second god that got created was Tzeentch. And Tzeentch became the chaos god of fate and change. He is a little bit difficult to describe, but essentially he kind of views the world as like one huge weave of string, and he's constantly playing with the fates and everything of others. If you ask Tzeentch a question, he's going to ask you another question, which leads to 3 more questions. It's kind of hard to describe, but basically he represents the fates of everyone and how life will always change. I like this image because it kind of, although it is AI, unfortunately, it kind of shows how it's hard to sort of grasp a concept of a being who can literally plan and change the fates of all intelligent species as we know it, and possibly even the universe. And finally, we got Nurgle. Now, Nurgle is the chaos god of decay and rot. He represents the end of all things. Where Tzeentch represented change, Nurgle represents the end. How, despite our dreams, despite our power, at the end we are merely mortal, and we will rot. We will rot and we will decay. But it's okay because Nurgle accepts you for that. Nurgle accepts everyone. It's kind of memed in the 40k universe. He's called Papa Nurgle because Nurgle loves everybody. Now we can finally talk about humans. So, around the, pretty sure it was around the 20th millennia, humanity had entered its golden age, called the Age of Technology. However, in the future, it's called the Dark Age of Technology for reasons you're about to see why. And now, humanity, they were at the peak. They had started sending hive fleets out in order to settle different alien planets and worlds. And even getting like floating space palaces in space as like shipping yards for other, spaceships. Everything was good. We were going great. And we had actually discovered about the warp. Now, so here's the thing about the warp. It is terrible. It is an extremely dangerous place. And once you are in the warp, you are exposed more rawly than ever before to the gods of chaos. And these gods of chaos will do anything they can in order to grab you and have you come to their side and accept chaos as a whole. So you have to be very extremely mentally sound in order to go through the warp. And now you may think, wow, this is pretty shitty. Why would you want to go for the warp for all this space traveling stuff? Just it's the future, isn't it? Just do light travel or whatever. Yeah, that's horribly inefficient. Do you know how big the Milky Way galaxy is? It is very big. The warp actually kind of functions as our prime means of super far space travel, because it works like the Nether in Minecraft, where you go one block in the Nether, you go 100 in the actual Minecraft world. It's like that. You could go hundreds of light years by and it'll take you a while in the warp, but nowhere near as far as it actually take you if you were in the Materium. So this is our prime means of space travel, to go through this horrible place. Now, back to humanity, because oh man, we are doing just fantastic. We got these machines called CBD, I think they're called. Something like computer biometric whatever. I don't know, it's not really too relevant, but they allow for these planets to like kind of request resources as needed. In a huge humanity galactic sparring empire. We had even run into other Xenos races, and you know, of course there were some fights, but we were both for the most part peaceful actually. Now what's screwing all this up? Well, we were very reliant on technology and AI. Those in the future described it as technology. We were literally worshipping technology as our gods. And we were so heavily reliant on it. And then an AI uprising happened. And we don't really know a lot about this AI uprising. Maybe it was like Terminator. Maybe it was like Space Odyssey. But the point is it really fucked up humanity. We had these like big robots that would like help with like physical tasks and a bunch of galaxy and stuff, and now you have to fight those things. And there's like hundreds of thousands of them. So this destroyed humanity. That's why it's called the future, the dark age of technology, because of how reliant we were on this stuff and how much it kind of became our downfall. And humanity became so scarred by the events that took place in the Dark Age technology that it was kind of decreed from then on that AI would be outlawed in all forms. Every single piece of technology had to have a human mind behind it. There was also a huge superstition developed of technology where the discovery of new technologies, I'm saying technology a lot, discovery of new technologies was heavily shunned by humanity because of what happened here. But that presents a little problem. Sorry, I'm going to laugh a lot because whenever something terrible comes up, because it's just so bad. It's really terrible. So, you know, all those menial tasks we used to have AI do, well, now we kind of had to do them ourselves. So we're like, how do we, like, get all this stuff done that we don't really want to do? So, in comes servitors. So, humanity was like, okay, here's what we could do. Okay, we'll get a person, maybe they're charged with murder, or 12 murders, I don't know. And we're just gonna, like, you know, bind them down, remove parts of their brain, brainwash them, maybe mind control them a bit, just do a bunch of stuff and connect them with a bunch of technological pieces and stuff. And then we are going to force them to do this menial task, like, I don't know, moving boxes, for the rest of their life. And thankfully, our medical technology is still good, so they'll be able to do this for hundreds, probably thousands of years as and don't worry, they still have their consciousness. They are forced to do this forever. One horrifying story I read was how one of these servitors was just so tired, and they were so far gone they couldn't even remember their name. It's truly terrifying stuff. So we made a lot of servitors based off criminals, all that good jazz. Now we have to talk about the Eldar. You want to know what the Eldar are? Space elves. They are very important to 40k, I assure you. Now, the elves, or sorry, the Eldari, as they're also called, they became the dominant intelligent species in the Milky Way galaxy around, actually during our time. You know, we're just chilling on Earth. We weren't doing much. The Eldari were like doing their whole galactic civilization thing out there. They were actually one of the species created by the Old Ones in order to fight the Necrons, and they just kind of stuck around. And the thing you need to know about the elves is that they are very emotional creatures. They feel things a lot, and they created hive ships in order to set out through the stars in order to expand their Eldar campaign. Now, the best way to describe what happens next is, you know when you're playing Civilization and you finish the game and there's like nothing else to do anymore? That's what happened to the Eldar. They had done so well as a species that they had effectively eliminated concepts like hunger, war. Whatever resource you wanted, you could just get it at the snap of your fingers. Whether it be food, whether it be sex, even. So all there at your fingertips. And the Eldar were just living it up, and they decayed into debauchery. And I'm trying to find the other word in my head, but I can't right now, so we shall continue. They decayed into debauchery. What happens when you have everything? You have nothing to work for anymore. Well, the Eldari just kind of, did what we would do. Shoot up a bunch of drugs, have a bunch of sex, and this is all they would do, just a bunch of drugs and sex. And their whole society, everyone was doing this. And this was kind of bad. Because as I mentioned before, the Eldar feel things very strongly. And this, amalgamation of debauchery and strong feelings and just overabundance of feeling, it literally caused a rift in the warp. And what followed was basically an explosion of the warp so strong that it shut it down for humans and abandoned and cut off our galactic planets off from the rest of us because, as I mentioned before, we're all connected by the warp. And from that explosion came the birth of Slaanesh. Now, Slaanesh is the fourth and final chaos god that came up, and we're probably like a they too, but for the sake of argument, they represent the overabundance of pleasure and feeling. They were created from the Eldar's debauchery, and with her birth, she basically took the souls and killed 95% of the Eldari civilization, absolutely fucking their entire species. And if that wasn't bad enough, she also all souls of the Eldari are now connected to Slaanesh. She's gonna take them and use you for whatever you want in your Immaterium afterlife. Very pleasant stuff. This is kind of what a domain of Slaanesh would look like. She is often represented with kind of kind of BDSM-y sort of gear, because that represents the idea of pleasure, pain, feeling, all those types of bits. And this is what happened after the Eldar kind of died one day. These are one of their last worlds, actually run by the Shirkari. But we're gonna step away from the Eldar now, and we'll go into more detail about them later. all you need to know now is that they are an absolute shell of what they once were. They are fighting for their survival, and they know once they die, they are going to go right into the grasp of Slavesh, which is very, very not good. And it's kind of all their faults, but also, could you really blame them? I don't know. Okay, back to Earth. So, Earth was having a wild time. We're now at our Mad Max stage. Except with a lot more technology. So, as I mentioned before, the warp kind of cut off all our communication networks to all of our galactic planets. And they were all very dependent on, trading and stuff. So, a lot of these planets just got entirely abandoned, and some literally died out because they did not have the resources to survive. And what happened on Terra / Earth specifically is it just became a bunch of warring tribes. Some planets kept to themselves, others fought against others. We just weren't really having a very good time. Probably not as extreme as this, but it wasn't going very well. Oh shoot, I need to talk about Psychers now. I promise this is all relevant. So, as I mentioned before, we all have souls, and when we die, these souls go to the Immaterium. In the future, as we became more connected to the warp, there started to be, how would you say, variances in some people's genetic code that allowed them to access the warp's psychic energy. So these people are literally powered with the souls of people from the Immaterium, and they are able to use that in the material world. And were henceforth called Psychers. They were kind of treated as witches because, we're human. We don't like things that are different. I don't like things that are different either. I think we should kill all things that are different from us and keep things the same all the time. But besides the point, over time we were like, Psychers aren't actually too bad. They're like magicians, and they're basically just kind of like raw energy that we could use. There are also different levels of Psyker. There could be, the lowest level is like, oh wait, I kind of have psychic energy, I guess. But as you go higher, the more your mind literally becomes mentally unstable from all the psychic energy spewing through you. And the highest level is an Alpha Plus Psyker, which is basically kind of a god. There is only one Alpha Plus Psyker that was sane in all of humanity that we will get to later. And this also presents a slight problem, because here's another image of the warp to show you the chaos that spews, the chaos. And so the Immaterium, as you may remember, the warp is kind of domain of the chaos gods, and Psychers can access the warp's psychic energy. And now you might see a little bit of a problem here, because chaos gods are kind of evil. So these Psychers, being more connected to the warp, are henceforth more susceptible to corruption by the chaos gods. And once a human falls to chaos, it's just like, you'll see how bad it is later, but imagine you have a weird kid in your neighborhood, like Jimmy, and Jimmy's just kind of weird. He stays to himself, and one day Jimmy decides to fall to chaos. What it's going to follow is a huge explosion that's going to kill hundreds of people that you know, and Jimmy's just going to go on a fucking rampage. And this just could happen to any human planet anywhere. There is no escape from this. There is no escape from chaos. Or better yet, Chaos could use Jimmy as a literal portal to hell so that they can shoot all their Chaos armies out at you and kill a bunch of people. The 40k universe is very terrible, and we're not even scratching the surface of how terrible it can really be. Here's all, but yes, these are the 4 Chaos Gods. There are no more. We got from left to right, Tzeentch, god of change and fate, Nurgle, god of rot and decay, Kord, god of war, blood and death, and Slanesh of the overabundance of pain and pleasure. I'm going to point this out really quickly. You might think, man, sorry. You might think, man, these guys look very evil. Why would anybody want to pledge allegiance to them? Well, other than for the power that they offer you, there's kind of like a weird flip side to the Chaos Gods, because they actually represent like a lot of aspects of like what it means to be human. Like, for example, Kord. Kord is the god of, war and fighting and stuff, but it's also a strange bit of like, how would you say, equalness. Like, Kord will not lie to you, he will not scheme against you, he literally just has the mindset of strongest guy wins. Get two people against each other, fight them out, whoever's left standing wins. Just kind of like that raw, barbaric, me bigger and stronger, I beat you up, I'm the big strong one. Siege represents change and fate. Life can kind of suck sometimes. Siege will probably tell you in his weird, Zinchi way, like, oh, life will always change. There's a million fates that I can see before me, and I can influence your fates to be a good one. Nurgle represents just equality. We're all gonna die, and we're all gonna rot, and Nurgle accepts us for all of that. We are all equal in his eyes. And Slanesh, although represents horrible pain and suffering, as I said, also represents, pleasure, being really happy, maybe even being really sad. It's all part of those things that make us human, that the Chaos Gods are kind of like the evil flip side, but also have some, like, good in them, because they kind of represent us. That's how it is. Oh boy, the next one's good. So during this age of during this age of strife, with all our disconnected planets and all of our warring techno-barbarians, humanity was kind of in shambles. And it was then that one man rose from the ashes to unite humanity under his vision. He had been waiting too long, and now he had finally appeared. And this man was the God Emperor of mankind. The God Emperor of mankind, there are many different stories about how the God Emperor of mankind came to be, but it is widely believed that he actually appeared on Terra around 800 BC, around Turkey, and he is the amalgamation of 100 psychers, which kind of performs like a unified suicide pact in order to ward off the forces of chaos. And all of these 100 psychers, raw energies, formed together, which resulted in the birth of the God Emperor of mankind. And I cannot understate that the God Emperor of mankind is the single most important human to ever exist in the history of our species. Oh god, sorry, I'm like, there's so much to say about him, but he is actually the Alpha Plus Psyker that I mentioned, the one sane one. He had almost complete mastery over the Immaterium, the warp, and all of its energy, and he had saw humanity through its pitfalls, through its risings, for its entire history. And during this age of strife, he was like, now is the time that I must come out of the shadows and lead humanity towards a glorious future. So I'm pretty sure it was in his Himalayan mountain base. This is very important. It's not. I just think it's funny to mention. In his Himalayan mountain base, he used some of these techno-barbarians and created Thunder Warriors. These are proto-Space Marines. We're going to talk about Space Marines later. And he made a bunch of these Thunder Warriors, and he sent them all over Terra, and was able to conquer all of Terra. And then he sent them out throughout the entirety of the humanity's galactic empire, and was able to unite humanity under a single banner by the recognition of the God Emperor of mankind. And you might think, that's kind of cool, but also kind of sad. One of my favorite stories about this unification of the under the Imperium of Man is a lot of these. Not all of humanity was screwed. There were some planets that were just kind of chilling. They were even working with Eldar in some places, trading, doing all that good stuff. And then you got these Thunder Warriors that show up and are just like, okay, you are going to recognize the God Emperor of mankind, and you are going to renounce all of your beliefs. You're going to completely adopt our culture. And some of them just were like, no, we're fine. We're fine chilling here. We're just going to do our own thing. And these civilizations would subsequently get wiped out. One of them in specific that was just doing fine on its own sent a lone, solitary message throughout the whole galaxy as the dying light of this civilization went out. This message that popped up on the intercoms of these of our human space fleets was simply, all we wanted was to be left alone. And that was the end for them. And it was with those wars that the Imperium of Man was created. We stand up and salute for the flag in this household. Now, the flag of the Imperium is pretty awesome already, but one detail I absolutely love is, as you can see, this hawk thing. What it represents is, there's one eye for the left one facing back, and no eye for the one facing forward. And the reason for this is humanity must look towards the glories of its past and not towards the horrors that the future holds. And that kind of perfectly sums up what the Imperium of Man had became. Now, after this unification, the God Emperor of mankind subsequently wiped out pretty much all of the Thunder Warriors after he helped them unite humanity under his banner. Pretty brutal, but also there were reports that they were kind of like unreliable already, and they were going to cause more problems than they were worth. So it's better to just kind of get rid of them now, even though it was a little bit scummy. But hey, that's kind of how war goes. So the God Emperor needed to make a stronger force for him to enact his dream, and these were the Space Marines. The Space Marines are the poster boys for Warhammer 40k. They are like 7-8 feet tall, of pure muscle and devotion to the Imperium of Man and the God Emperor of mankind. They also have these things called gene seeds that were put into them. What are gene seeds? Basically biochemical engineering that the God Emperor of mankind did in his Himalayan mountain base in order to kind of speed along the evolutionary process to make just the rawest, strongest human soldiers imaginable. And this, I have to mention this point because I'm going to forget it otherwise. One of the core principles behind the God Emperor of mankind was that humanity must be purely secular. There would be no religion, because what the God Emperor of Mankind saw throughout living through humanity for those thousands of years is religion was only ever a tool in order to tear apart humanity and into circles of beliefs as an excuse to fight against one another. So the God Emperor of Mankind believed only humanity should be their own ruler, and as such, all forms of religion had to be outlawed and punished. And this would be, and if you ever go across the street and say to your neighbor, "Hey, I heard about this Jesus guy. He's pretty cool," you're going to be deemed a heretic, and it'd probably be turned into one of those servitors. So, best to just kind of keep your head down and bless the God Emperor of Mankind. Also, this is a very important point. The God Emperor of Mankind did not want to be recognized as a god. He was somewhat noble in his beliefs that it was just, we should believe in ourselves. We are humanity. We have a right to rule the galaxy because we are so awesome and cool, and we are humans, and we are all humans. And I am just merely the guiding light that is going to allow us to grasp our full potential. And one of my favorite quotes, religion will only end when the last brick of the last church is brought down upon the last priest. I said one of my favorites. That doesn't mean it's good. All right. Glad we got that out of the way. Back to Space Marines. So Space Marines were implanted with gene seeds, which the God Emperor created in his Himalayan mountain base. And these would allow things for being able to see better, being able to process and break down food for energy that we wouldn't be able to consume otherwise. You could literally grasp or tree bark, and you get enough of your you wouldn't get enough of your nutrients from that, but hypothetically you could consume anything and get some nutritional value out of it. And these were created to be humanity's finest warriors. They're super soldiers. And you cannot deny Space Marines are pretty freaking awesome. Here's a little anatomy chart showing the all the gene seeds that have to be placed in a human in order to turn them into a Space Marine. So kidneys, lungs, all that good stuff. Now there's a small topic of debate within the Warhammer 40k universe. And this debate topic is, can Space Marines defecate, and are they neutered in the process where they become a Space Marine? So I will put this aside for now. There has never been a serious answer that has been stated in the Warhammer 40k universe, but as far as we are aware, they are not neutered, but they could be put some kind of gene seed for the groin region, and I don't know, maybe it gives some more testosterone levels or something. And as for the defecation bit, if you ever see Dune, you know how they kind of carry around these backpacks that kind of turn all their sweat and stuff into water and nutrients that they can suck out of that tube. Kind of disgusting, but that's probably what they do with that regardless. Well, I just thought it was funny. I really wanted to mention it. Okay, and now you might be wondering, if you have been following along so far, what about chaos? Don't worry, chaos can corrupt Space Marines too. And as you can imagine, a 7-8 foot tall hunk of pure muscle falling to corn is not going to really lead to a fun time for people. So Space Marines are put through a very, very intensive indoctrination process, where they are literally live and die by the Imperium of Man. Trying to remember if there was anything else part of that. Oh yeah, I remember one bit where like some of the gene seeds literally won't activate unless you are awake during the surgery process because the nerves need to be connected or something. So yeah, you have to go for all these horrible gene seed surgeries awake. Fun times in the Warhammer 40k Grimdark universe. And here are some Chaos Space Marines. Are they very evil? Yes. Are they also really cool? Also, yes. I mean, come on. Okay, and here's the... I also have some videos as part of my presentation. Here's one to just show you, like, how devoted the amount of devotion and pride that is he put on display to be made a Space Marine.
Accept these burdens as the Imperium bleeds. I accept these burdens, knowing no fear. I accept these burdens as an angel of the Emperor. I sheathe my form in this second skin. This veil of machine muscle and false nerves. I stand firm against the alien, the mutant, the heretic. I grant no mercy. I give no ground. I bear the Imperialis, the symbol of loyalty unbroken. With reverence, I receive actuation, awakening the armor spirit. With pride, I wear the symbol of my chapter and join my brothers in war.
So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now imagine a whole army of those things. Yeah, pretty... also just as awesome. Okay, cool. Now, you see, the Emperor didn't just need Space Marines. He also needed an elite force, demigods, in order to lead humanity to the bright future that he had wanted for them. So he created 20 Primarchs with gene seeds in order to help lead these space legions. And I'm very careful in my wording. He did not birth them. He created them just in a lab in the Himalayas. Awesome. Also, you might think, hey, there's only 18 up here. Yes, you are correct. There were never 20 Space Legions. If whoever told you that is a liar. Now, these Primarchs, as they were called, are literal demigods, sons of the Emperor of Mankind himself. And there was one small problem that happened. So all the Chaos Gods, they saw the rise of this God Emperor of Mankind. After all, he is the biggest, manliest, most giga-chattest human to ever exist. And they were like, this guy is actually really scary. And we're Chaos Gods. This isn't good. So they actually all coalesced and were like, okay, we need to... All four of them, and they all hate each other. All four are like, okay, we need to do something in order to handle this. So they got the 20 Primarchs of the Emperor, and they yeeted them across the galaxy through the warp. And what followed was the Great Crusade. Over about 100 Terran years, humanity went off across the galaxy in order to scout and find these Primarchs who would go on to live very different lives on each of the worlds that they had come from. And don't worry, we're going to go through all 20 of these Primarchs, starting off with the leader of the First Legion, Leon L. Johnson of the Dark Angels. They have a very Knights of the Round Table sort of vibe. Got those swords, got those armorings, and one of their main gimmicks is some of their Space Marines actually fell to chaos, and they were subsequently known as the Fallen, and they have been going on a huge 1984 IngSoc sort of mission in order to wipe out the Fallen and also wipe out any mentioning of the Fallen. Because there was never any Fallen. What are you talking about? We're all the first Legion of the Space Marines. You didn't say Fallen, did you? Because there were no Fallen to begin with. Very, very fun stuff. They also have very kind of medieval sounding names like Arthur and others, which I cannot remember right now. All good shit. And now we have the second Legion, and sorry. So we have the third Legion. This is the Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children. Okay, don't worry, I won't leave you like that. So there were two Primarchs specifically that they were deemed so harmful to the memory of humanity that we destroyed all records of them and all mentioning of them to the point where we don't even know what their names are and what they did. It was a very successful wipe of just all memories of these two Primarchs. And is that a fly or a bug on my poster on the wall? Oh, ew, it's like a beetle or something. God dang it. Do I have glass somewhere? Oh wait, I do. Alright, bug successfully neutralized. Don't worry, I didn't kill it, I threw it outside. Okay, and we go back to more important matters. So yeah, no second Space Marine Legion, never existed. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know why I had this slide, because there was never a second Legion. Now next, we go to Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children. Now, Fulgrim was a perfectionist. He wanted to achieve the peak of humanity, to be absolutely perfect, and he's also the only Primarch that I actually know more than a baseline knowledge of. Essentially, Fulgrim was thrown onto just kind of like a regular planet and had like a normal two-parent household. And then later on, his parents kind of died, which he was really sad about. But his whole thing was like, there wasn't some grand wars, or he had like a desire to become the most powerful person on this planet. Fulgrim really was just a regular guy, and people just liked him because he was just charismatic and nice, and he just liked doing Fulgrim things. He worked in a factory because it was a very labor kind of planet, and of course he was a Primarch, so he's just kind of better than everybody just for the sake of that. But also they just liked him, and the fact that he worked so hard actually inspired like the rest of his factory to like work harder as well. And Fulgrim was just like so likable, so productive. He kind of just slowly rose through the ranks to be named kind of the leader of this planet. So yeah, not bad. And then they, during the Great Crusade, they finally got a hold of him, and we're gonna have to go into that later. I'll probably have to finish Fulgrim's story later, just because we need to keep some kind of consistent timeline with these things. But as of now, Fulgrim's just a really chill dude. Oh, and I guess I'll also mention his Space Marines. So when Fulgrim was given control over Space Marine Legion, he was like, these should not just be soldiers; they should be symbols of humanity. So he basically ordered them that they would also have to pursue the arts, paintings and music, sculptures, fulfill what makes humanity through its artistic expression. And the Space Marines actually became the most like per capita awarded Space Marines, like militarily, but also for the arts and stuff, out of all of the legions. So Fulgrim knew what he was talking about. These guys knew what they were doing. All right. Next up, the fourth Primarch, Perturabo of the Iron Warriors. Very ugly looking dude. His whole shtick, well, I said Iron Warriors, didn't I? Hell yeah, we got metal and guns and metal. They were all about machinery. They thought the flesh was weak. We need to be like mechs pretty much. And Perturabo himself, a very extraordinarily petty individual who wanted recognition for his accomplishments. And the weird part about him, and honestly the scary part about him, is not only was he extraordinarily petty, but he was also really good at his job, and that's kind of what made him very scary. Whew. All right, next up, fifth Primarch, Jagatai Khan of the White Scars. Now, Jagatai Tong, they have a very kind of Mongolian sort of aesthetic to them, and they were all about speed, the need for speed. The White Scars would go into battle on motorcycles and flying jet things with a smile on their face, a chuckle in their throats, ready to just rain shit on the enemy. Jagatai, just call him Khan. Khan did not tout his accomplishments or say how great he was. He kept it all to himself, because he thought that was what a true commander should do. Keep their strategies and glories to themselves, and only have the enemy know about them when it's too late at their defeat. Now, the 6th Primarch. Oh, whoops, that's not the 6th Primarch. It's just another epic art of the White Scars doing White Scar things. And the 6th Primarch, Leman Russ of the Space Wolves. These guys have a kind of like a very Viking, Nordic sort of aesthetic. And yeah, that's really all there is about them. I'm pretty sure Leman Russ just is really outspoken, and he talks tales all the time about like how epic and cool he is, and all these great battles that he's fought, and all that. And I mean, when you lead the Legion of Space Wolves with all these like cold, wintry worlds, I think that's pretty cool. This is the best Legion to lead if you're a furry. Because look at all those wolves. But yeah, they're pretty epic. You can't deny it looking at them. And now we have the 7th Primarch, Rogel Dorn of the Imperial Fists. These guys are pretty awesome. They got big ol' hammers. Rogel Dorn looking pretty Giga Chad, if I do say so myself. Here's him fighting one of his brothers. This is completely irrelevant and will definitely not be brought up later. And the shtick behind the Imperial Fists was they were masters of defense. They could hold down a fort and nothing would penetrate it under the commanding of its leader of Rogel Dorn. I really like dealing with them. I think they're very cool. And now for a slight change of aesthetic, the 8th Primarch, Conrad Kurz of the Night Lords. The Night Lords are scum. They are absolutely terrible. They kind of stand for the opposite of what all Space Marines stand for. So Conrad Kurz was part of a planet which was a shithole, and everyone was like a criminal. You got criminals and thieves and murderers as young as 12, canonically. And Conrad Kurz, when he rose to prominence, went to these kids, was like, "Hey kid, you wanna be a space marine and do all that stuff for me? Don't worry, you do this with adults too, indoctrinate them at a young age to become his horrible, vampiric, edgelord knight army of murder and death and thievery and stuff." Here's him fighting one of his brothers, as I said, definitely not relevant. Rogel Dorn is terrible. Oh wait, this is not Conrad Kurz. Conrad Kurz is terrible. Stands for the opposite of what all Space Marines do. There's one story of his where there was this one Xeno civilization where they saw a Space Marine Legion was coming in, so they sent out one of their ships in order to like fend them off, and the ship returned, and the crowd cheered, or like, "Hooray, we've been saved, we've been rescued," and then the ship opened up. And all the dismembered body parts of the army that was sent to stop Conrad Kurz fell out onto the crying population. And then he came and killed all of them, probably. Oh yeah, and I'd also forget, one army sent him a surrender declaration. And he denied their surrender and said, "Nope, I'm still gonna come in and kill you." Yeah, very fun stuff. Let me see if I can get a funny little Conrad Kurz quote in for you. So yeah, very evil, very bad Space Marines. And now you're gonna get a lot of whiplash from this one. Oh, never mind. We got the quote after all. "It is better by far to be an object of fear than of respect, for one is a truth of the soul, and the other an illusion of the mind." Conrad Kurz, everybody. And now for that whiplash. Next we have the knife. Yeah, the knife. The knife Primarch Sanguinius. Now, I have to say, this comes from the heart. Sanguinius is not like the other Space Marines. He is special. His accomplishments on the battlefield were second to none. He had great wings of power that he used to fly through armies and smite them. He was above them all. Let me get a little quote for Sanguinius, because this one's actually quite important, I have to say. Sanguinius, it should have been him. He has the vision and strength to carry us to victory, and the wisdom to rule once victory is won. For all his aloof coolness, he alone has the Emperor's soul in his blood. Each of us carries part of our father within us, whether it is his hunger for battle, his psychic talent, and his determination to succeed. Sanguinius holds it all. It should have been his. It was said that it's theorized that parts of the immaterium of chaos even itself was put into each of the Primarchs in order to have them be as powerful as they were. However, it was said that Sanguinius had two gods within him, one of angel life and the other of darkness and decay, that he constantly has to fight against, and that is why he is one of the most powerful Primarchs out of them all. As I said, his Blood Angel's very feared, and don't worry, we're gonna bring him up later and you'll see why. Next up, we have Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands. Now, you see, the Iron Hands, kind of similar to Perturabos too, not gonna lie. Oh shoot, did I forget what their whole shtick was? Oh yeah, I think they like mechanize everything for like battle purposes and stuff. This sounds like I'm repeating myself. I think they would literally get like Gods of Chaos, and then they would like have them be their like mechanical like these minions of chaos. They really get them, mechanize them, turn them into their mechanical toys in order to strike them in battle. He's a little more different in Perturabo, but unfortunately I can't remember any of that right now. Oh well. Here's him fighting Fulgrim. Don't worry, this is very not relevant. This definitely will not be brought up later. And the 11th Primarch. Yeah. Okay. 12th Primarch. Oh yes. His name, Agron. His Space Marines, the World Eaters. Now, Agron, if the name did not suggest it, is a pretty angry guy. How angry, you might think? Well, he was thrown on a planet where he was turned into a slave at a young age. And whenever he would refuse tasks, they would literally force tubes into his mind that would warp his brain to the point where he cannot feel concepts like joy, sadness, or whatever unless he is feeling very angry. If he is not constantly feeling very angry, it causes him severe pain. So he is constantly under a very high level of anger. Because his name is Angron. This is Angron as a chaos god. Because he's Angron. Man. There's not really much else to say about Angron, other than, yeah, he's very angry. Oh yeah, I also forgot, his sons would do the same procedure as he did so they could be more like their father. Because, yes, I want to stick a bunch of tubes in my head that just make me feel nothing but pure anger all the time. Very great stuff. And here's him fighting the Primarch of the Space Wolves. And here's his definitely not fallen to chaos, Space Marine Legion. Good old Agra. Don't worry, we'll bring that up later. Next, oh yeah! Robute Gilliman of the Ultramarines. 13th Primarch, I'm pretty sure. Yep, 13th Primarch. Now, Robute Gilliman is actually probably like the best of all the Primarchs objectively. He was born on some kind of like ancient Greek sort of planet, and he never really. And his mom died, and so did his dad later, and he always held them in his memory because he viewed them as like his real parents, and they were the ones who raised him. And he was able to unite his warring planet under one banner. And then after this, the God Emperor of Mankind show up, and he's like, "Hey, you're actually my son. Come on, get on my ship. We're going on a spacefaring adventure or for the Imperium of Man." So yeah, a little bit sad. Also, how can you not be a Primarch with that sick jawline? I mean, come on. It's awesome. Now, the they're called the Ultramarines, these ones. Now, the thing with this Space Marine Legion is the Ultramarines, they're good at everything. They don't really have, like, a specialty, though. Like, Angron, you run in there and kill everything. The Space Wolves for those, like, wintry planets. All that stuff. Ultramarines, they're really just a catch-all. They are good at everything. They don't really specialize in anything. But Robute Gilliman is by far one of the best Primarchs because not only... He didn't actually unite his planet for war, he was able to unite it for diplomacy. Yeah, of course, there were some wars here and there, but he had the wisdom of, hey, not everything needs to be settled through a fight. Sometimes diplomacy is a very valid and not very violent, valid option. Pretty cool guy. He also knew one of the most important things in war is logistics. You need to get your supply lines, your food, your weaponry, all that good stuff. He's known to be very stubborn. God, now I'm just talking about Robute Gilliman. He's very stubborn, but if his pride, and he did kind of fight with his other Primarch brothers, but if they actually had good points about like how they organize their armies and stuff, he would actually adopt them into his army. So it shows that although he is stubborn, he can still adapt and change for the better if he views it as the best way to achieve victory. So yeah, I really like Robute Gilliman. I think he's just kind of a pretty swell guy. Not even just in terms of Warhammer 40k, but just in general. And next we have Mortarion of the Death Guard. Mortarion, yeah, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. He kind of pledged allegiance to Nurgle, and we're going to discuss that later once we get through all these guys. He is so sick, not like mentally, just like physically, like with all this plague coming out of him, that even being near him will make you sick and kill you. They're also extremely resilient, these guys. They are the most resilient out of all the Space Marines. If there's an extremely dangerous planet, you send Mortarion and his Death Guard over in order to fix things up. Yeah, pretty disgusting guys. Next we have Magnus the Red, the Thousand Sons, the 15th Primarch. I kind of lost count at this point. Now, Magnus the Red was born on kind of like a sorcery sort of planet. He was able to channel his psyker energy to do his Magnus the Red things with his Thousand Sons. I actually don't know much about Magnus the Red, I'll be honest, but it's very red. He's got some cool hair, and I also have a lot of art of him because he actually has really sick art, because all of his things about like magicianry and sorcery and illusion and all that stuff, all of that good old psychic energy, which he has a particular potency in. I just have this guy because I was looking at the 40k wiki, and it said he was carrying a warp thrower. And I wrote down in my notes, this is a warp thrower. That's like a flamethrower, but with the power of the warp. So yeah, pretty pretty powerful stuff. I also like this art too. It's a very nice shade of blue. Yeah. Oh boy, man, I say that for like each of these Primarchs. Look, they're all pretty cool. They all come from their own planets, their own personalities. Cool stuff. Next, Horus Lupercal of the Sons of Horus. Very humble, I know. We'll get to that later. Horus, not gonna sugarcoat it, was the Emperor's favorite son. Dare I even say his successor. His specialty was assault. Go in there, finish the battle, get out. That was the Sons of Horus. It was said that a battle between the Sons of Horus and the Imperial Fists, the defense guys, would last until the end of time. Well, we're going to come back to Horus later, though, I assure you. Next, Lorgar of the Word Bearers. So, Lorgar was all about, like, belief in God and all that stuff, which kind of contradicted with the Emperor, but don't worry, we'll get to that later. But he did very cool things, because he's like, Chaos Gods, these guys will give me power and stuff. And he would literally, like, summon demons from hell in order to help them fight in battle, because he is Lorgar of the Word Bearers. And yeah, his army looks pretty badass, one cannot deny. Boy. Next, Vulcan of the Salamanders. We have about 4 Space Marines, Space Marine Primarchs to go to. He is part of the 17th Legion, if my memory serves me correctly. The Salamanders. What is their old gimmick? Well, fire, burning. Vulcan has dark black skin and red pulsing eyes from the planet that he was born on. And the Salamander, and he's actually the tallest and strongest of all the Space Marines. Actually, his entire legion, like, they are like the biggest and strongest out of all of them. And they just love to burn shit. Go in there and burn all your enemies, because that's what the Salamanders do. Let me get some more tea in me. Good stuff. And here's the funny thing about the Salamanders. That's why I really like them. They're actually the kindest out of all of the Space Marines. Like, they will go out of their way to protect innocent civilian lives, even at the expense of their own, because they view themselves as like a symbol of peace for humanity, and are even allowed to visit their families, which Space Marines are not allowed to do. So, if there's one takeaway from all this, join the Salamanders. If you were told you have to join a Space Marine Legion, the Salamanders are definitely your best bet. Next up, unless you I don't know, murdering and killing a lot, in which case, you could join the Night Lords. Next up, Corvus Corax of the Raven Guard. His specialty, stealth. Yeah, these guys are big. Yeah, Space Marines are big, bulky, strong and stuff, but it's all about that perfect moment to strike. Lying in the shadows, waiting for that one moment of weakness for your enemy, and then striking at them with all your might. And here's him as a demon god thingy against Lorgar. And the last Primarch, Alfarius, an Omegon of the Alfarius Omegon Legion. I think that's pretty funny. So Alfarius' whole gimmick is deceit. So here's the weird bit about Alfarius and Omegon's Legion. Okay, first, I have to say, Alfarius and Omegon look the exact same. They are twin brothers. And that actually goes for all of the Alfarius Omegon Legion, because they all look like Alfarius, and they all claim to be Alfarius. They all think like Alfarius, when you join them, you have to go through facial reconstruction surgery and all this other crap in order to essentially live, breathe, and be Alfarius. And their whole gimmick is, like, as I said, deceit, infiltration, all that good stuff. Here's him facing off against... Oh my god, I can't even keep up with these names anymore. The Imperial Fists guy, the defense one. And I will mention about the Alfarius Legion, just so I don't forget it anymore. They were deemed traitors. However, some believe that this is actually a huge con of theirs, and are actually still loyal to the Emperor, and them convincing us that they had actually betrayed us is part of their huge con. Really, really cool stuff. Alfarius. And that is all the Primarchs. They were demigods. They had part of the most powerful human alive in all of them. Gods amongst men, battle strategies and armies that could rival planets. Here's them in all of their glorious glory. However, one more part. To be a Space Marine is to suffer or to sacrifice everything for the good of mankind and the Imperium of Man. You will not get to see your friends anymore. You will not get to see your family anymore. You will eat, sleep, live, and die by the Emperor. There have been reports that Space Marines can live anywhere between 500 and 10,000 years just to be the perfect army men for humanity. And also all the gene sealer surgery that I mentioned before. Now, not all the Primarchs were united. This represented a slight problem for the Chaos Gods. The God Emperor of Mankind was still alive, and he just got all 20 of his sons back. This was very kinda not really good, because, as I said, these four Chaos Gods were threatened by the Emperor of Mankind. So, they united again and hatched one more scheme in the hopes of bringing him down. Now, this is where Horus comes in to more prominence. So, the Emperor of Mankind, as I said, Horus was his favorite son. He actually gave Horus power over his own Space Marine Legion because he trusted him so much and thought that he could be the great commander, the great military commander for humanity, as the Emperor could sit in his Himalayan mountain base and do God Emperor of Mankind things. And at first Horus was happy about this, but over time, he started to feel envious. He would have the most amazing of strategic victories, and it would always seem that he would always be second to the Emperor himself. That all the glory was only for the Emperor and not him. He was Horus Lupercal. He was of the Sons of Horus. The Emperor literally let him call him the Sons of Horus because the Emperor was like, hey, you're doing so good at your job, man. Look, these are your guys. These are the Sons of Horus. They're not my guys. But this jealousy started to grow and fester within him. And that is what allowed him to be susceptible to chaos. Now, Horus Lupercal was still very mentally strong. However, the Chaos Gods would constantly tempt him. And this wasn't helped because one of Horus's kind of minions kind of got like a Chaos Sword. His name was Erebus. He got a Chaos Sword, and one day Horus kind of got stabbed with the Chaos Sword, which didn't really help with the whole being susceptible to chaos thing. And with that aside, the Chaos Gods were like, join us, Horus, join us, we'll be powerful ever before. Horus was like, no, I am loyal to the God Emperor of mankind. But then they showed him something. They showed him in the far future there wouldn't be a statue of him. There would be of his brothers, but not him. And the future showed the God Emperor of mankind recognized as a god of all humanity and fallen to the very things that they swore to fight against. As the Emperor of mankind was recognized as the one true god of all, as society had fallen to decay and superstition. Horus, this was what broke Horus, and he decided to accept the gods of chaos within him and betray the God Emperor of mankind. Hold your tears. I know this is very difficult to process. This was my exact reaction. What are you doing, dude? Stop! Horus! Oh boy, we got a video. I couldn't pass up on this one. It is very, very tragic indeed. Fortunately, we got a... Oh. Nah, it's not gonna do it. RIP. Hey, look, we're halfway through the presentation. Oh, man.
I never wanted this. I never wanted to unleash my legions. Together we banished the ignorance of old night. But you betrayed me. You betrayed us all. You stole power from the gods and lied to your sons. Mankind has only one chance to prosper. If you will not seize it, then I will! So let it be war! From the skies of terror to the galactic rim. Let the seas boil. Let the stars fall. Though it takes the last drop of my blood. I will see the galaxy freed once more. And if I cannot save it from your failure, Father, then let the galaxy burn.
So yeah, daddy issues, am I right? Awesome. So yeah, so this would then be known as, oh yes, we got here. This would be known as humanity's greatest civil war, the Horus Heresy. Now, a couple things to know first before I go on. Oh my god. Okay, the Emperor was not a good father. Like, at all. So, like, I'm pretty sure all the Primarchs have, like, dead moms and dads to one extent or another, but, like, first off, the Emperor did lose them. That is his fault. And also, this, like, I don't care what source says, this is inexcusable. The Emperor of Mankind never told his sons about chaos. I mean, this guy just shows... Sorry, I'm going back and forth here. God of War just shows up, it's like, hey, I'm your dad. Now you're going to join the Imperium of Mankind as one of its, like, super elite Primarch people. Because you're so awesome, because you're part of me, the God Emperor of Mankind. The God Emperor of Mankind never told his sons about chaos, which was horrendously stupid. Now, the reasoning for this was, like, gods in Warhammer 40k kind of work off belief. Like, the more people believe in something, like, the stronger it gets. And the logic behind not telling them was like, okay, I'm just not going to tell my sons about chaos. I'm the God Emperor of Mankind. I can, like, handle this and stuff. But as oh my god, as we know from school and stuff, you don't tell kids about drugs and they find drugs one day. They're going to do drugs. If you do, like, you know, information seminars and stuff, you say, hey, here's all, like, the bad things about drugs and stuff. Actually educating people about a subject, like, of course you're still, like, letting them know about it, but you're having to be more informed, which is the important part, so they don't literally harm themselves, either out of ignorance or, you know, peer pressure or whatever. I don't know. So, yeah, as much as I hate to say it, massive L on the God Emperor of Mankind's fault, for not telling his kids about chaos and being, like, sit them down, be like, hey guys, about chaos, they're pretty bad, just don't do anything with them, okay? Horus did not get that good parenting, and all 4 of the Chaos Gods manifested inside of him, and he had declared war on the Imperium of Man under the promise of leading them towards a better future. And, as was said in the trailer, let the seas boil, let the stars fall, until it takes the last drop of my blood. And if I cannot save it from you, Father, then let the galaxy burn. So, the Horus Heresy, oh yeah, that was his sick-ass Sons of Horus, all evil and stuff, really cool. And then, oh my god, this is so tragic. He was able to convince the other a whole half of the God Emperor of Mankind's Primarchs in order to join Chaos with him in his cause to defeat the God Emperor of Mankind and the Imperium of Man. Yeah, this is not good. These guys are like gods, and now half of them are under the influence of chaos. Oh, cool, I can mention Fulgrim again. So, if you remember before, I mentioned Fulgrim and his, Fulgrim's Space Marine Legion. I'm not gonna look it up again. Now, what's kind of cool is that, like, with Fulgrim at least, is it wasn't just like waking up one day and be like, I'm gonna join Chaos. So these Primarchs would live for like thousands and thousands of years. They had literally had the Emperor's gene seed within them. And Fulgrim would actually have many wives, and they would just die because he was a god and they were not. And he kind of just became more detached from humanity the older that he got. And he became more, like, enraptured by this idea of perfection, something that could not be achieved by humanity. As he himself grew more detached from it and just started just feeling more empty. And this is what allowed Slaanesh to get her tendrils into him by saying, I am the god of feeling, of pleasure and joy and pain and everything, and I can help you achieve perfection in all forms. So Fulgrim accepted Slaanesh, and that is what caused his Space Legion to fall to chaos. Yeah, as you can see from these images, definitely the good guys. You know, Spikes, Flaming Wings and stuff. These guys really have my best interests in mind. Oh yeah, I should list off which Primarchs fell to chaos and which did not. I'm not going to be able to go back on the slides without it going through a bunch of stuff. So, oh, does it not have the list here? God dang it. Oh, never mind, it does. Cool. Okay, Lionel Johnson of the Dark Angels, loyal. Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children, traitor. Perturabo of the Iron Warriors, traitor. White Scars, and the Mongolian guy, loyal. Leaving Rest of the Space Wolves, loyal. Rogel Doran of the Imperial Fist, the yellow guys, loyal. The Edgelords, Conrad Kurz's Night Lords, traitor, obviously. Sanguinius. Don't worry, we'll talk about Sanguinius soon. The guy with the wings, loyal. Ferris Manus of the Iron Hands, loyal. Oh no, it says here, dead, beheaded by Fulgrim. Yeah, the brothers kind of fought. Very tragic indeed, as half of them fell to chaos, and the other half stayed loyal to the Emperor. It became brother against brother, legion against legion. The biggest family dispute on a galactic scale, with the fates of the entire of all of humanity in their hands. Angron, obviously traitor. Korn, Robute Gilliman of the Blue Ultramarines, loyal. Mortarion, I already said he went to traitor. Magnus the Red of the Magician guy, traitor. Horus, we don't need to mention him. Lorgar of the Word Bearers, traitor. Because, Chaos Gods, Lorgar, the religious guy, yeah. Vulcan of the Salamanders, loyal. Corvus Corax of the Raven Guard, stayed loyal. And Alfarius, Omegon of Alfarius, traitor. But as I mentioned before, that could just be a huge con of theirs that are actually still loyal to the Emperor. So, yeah. The Chaos Gods, very scary. Now you have a bunch of Chaos Legions of half of the Primarchs. And what followed... okay, there's so much with the frickin' Horus Heresy that... not only do I not know all of it, I wouldn't be able to tell you it. If I'm being honest, if I were to say every detail about the Horus Heresy, it would probably be the same amount of length of the current PowerPoint presentation I have of the 40k universe, and we haven't even gotten to the other Xenospecies. So, yeah, there have been like 50 freaking books written about the Horus Heresy. You want to know more about it, read them or watch some YouTube videos like I have. But all you need to know is all of this culminated in the Siege of Terra. This is when Horus decided to get his spaceship and his Sons of Horus and all of the traitor Primarchs that were still alive in order to finally siege Terra and take the Golden Throne from the God Emperor of mankind and claim himself as humanity's ruler. This gives you some scale on how just absolutely destructive and horrible the Horus Heresy was to the Imperium of Man. Billions upon trillions died in the process. Humanity never even really recovered from the Horus Heresy. And this was just a civil war. There were still other threats in the galaxy that they needed to handle during this time that they weren't. Absolutely terrible. And now this is where it gets important. Sanguinius was one of the bravest warriors of the Horus Heresy to protect the God Emperor of mankind. He faced off against his brother Angron as he was corrupted by the Chaos God of Korn, and managed to defeat him, but became mortally wounded in the process. Horus made a grave miscalculation as he thought reinforcements were on the way before they were shut down from a warp storm. This put a huge wrench in his plans in order to siege Terra, and he was left with no other choice but to lower his Horus super ship, lower its barriers and stuff, and basically as a way of going, yo, come at me, bro. And who came at him, bro, but Sanguinius? Horus extended his hand to Sanguinius, told him to join him. Together, they could do great things with one another. But Sanguinius knew better. He would not be corrupted by the gods of chaos like his once awarded brother was, Horus. And despite his mortal wounds and the almost certain outcome that was defeat, he took up his sword and fought Horus. Oh god, this image goes so hard. It was a brutal battle despite his grave wounds. And Sanguinius was able to even pierce the armor of Horus himself. However, Horus was too strong against Sanguinius's angelic might, and he grabbed him and killed him on the spot, corrupting his body to chaos. This corruption was so strong that it literally warped the gene seeds of Sanguinius's Space Marine Legion, and now they're like kind of vampires, and they have to like suck blood and stuff. Oh shit, I forgot to mention. One of the gene seeds that they literally put in all Space Marines is if you like consume like any part of some like living organic matter, you can also gain their memories. Because like they connect like the stomach to the brain nerves or something like that. I kind of just destroyed the pace. Okay, back to this horrible thing. So yeah, Sanguinius is currently getting corrupted by chaos and dying as the God Emperor of Mankind came onto the ship, holding one of his favorite sons as he fell. And now it was just the two of them, Horus Lupercal and the God Emperor of Mankind. Horus said to the Emperor, "Kneel before me, recognize me as the true ruler, and I will spare your life." The God Emperor of Mankind could see through this lie by Horus. He knew that there was only one outcome from here. He had to fight and defeat his once favorite son. Oh yes, now we get to see the hardest image in all of Warhammer. This is definitely probably my favorite. You got Sanguinius falling down over there. You got the God Emperor's Giga Chad energy on full display with his shining golden armor representing the might of humanity. You got a big evil eye in the background, and you got Horus, who looks possibly even more badass than the Emperor himself with his chaos-corrupted space armoring. Warhammer Heart has a very like Renaissance sort of vibe to it, and it really just adds to like the weight of like, you know, humanity and war and betrayal. It's really cool. And then they fought. Now here's the thing about their clash. The Emperor was held back by his feelings for Horus. He couldn't get himself to kill his son. This is Horus we're talking about. Even after the brutal civil war that he had brought humanity through, he was still his son. Horus, however, did not care. He was going to kill his father. He was going to take his throne and as the head of the Imperium of Man. He even sliced off the Emperor's arm as he fell to the ground, and it was then that the God Emperor of Mankind saw a vision. And his vision was the horror of what would happen to humanity if Horus were to defeat him. With that, he solidified his conviction and did not hold back anymore, unleashing his full psyker energy on Horus, managing to defeat him and expelling the gods of chaos within Horus himself. As he laid there, bloodied, battered, and beaten on the ground, he looked up to his father with remorse. He said he was sorry for all that happened. he and the saddest part of it all was the God Emperor of Mankind looked into his eyes, and he knew he was telling the truth. He knew Horus was genuinely remorseful for everything that occurred, for falling to chaos, for putting humanity through all of this. He couldn't get himself to slay his son, even after all of this. However, the God Emperor of Mankind saw that even with Horus's remorse, he saw that he was still susceptible to being corrupted by chaos. Putting his love for his son behind, he slayed Horus, and did not just kill him, he used all of his psyker energy to literally destroy Horus's soul, so that nothing like this could ever happen again. Pretty freaking metal. However, the wounds were too much for the God Emperor to bear. And it was then that, let's see, it was then that Rogel Dorn of the Imperial Fist saw that the Emperor was truly on his last legs. He was beaten too much by Horus. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that one piercing of the armor that Sanguinius did during his fight with Horus, that was the one chink in the armor that allowed the God Emperor to finally slay him. The God Emperor of Mankind asked Rogel Dorn to bring him to the Golden Throne, which the Emperor would sit in this Golden Throne, which kind of processed all of the psyker soul energy of mankind for him to process all of this information, which allowed him to power humanity's navigation through the warp. Rogel Dorn, despite his grave injuries, complied. It was at this point that those aligned with Horus knew the end times were near, and they either died or went missing in the process. Rogel Dorn then brought the God Emperor of Mankind to the Golden Throne, where he sits. And that is what marked the end of the Horus heresy. Rogel Dorn gave the God Emperor of Mankind the last bit of his psyker energy before he died, before Rogel died, and they hooked the Emperor to the Golden Throne in order to keep him alive by consistently channeling psyker energy within him, as they saw that with what Rogel did, they could continue to keep the Emperor alive even with his great wounds. And the Emperor has sat in this chair for 10,000 Terran years. 1,000 psychers every day are sacrificed in order to keep the God Emperor of Mankind as he sits a rotting corpse in a chair, neither dead nor alive, where he just decays. He is a shell of what he once was. He still powers the Astronomicon, which allows for humanity to travel through the warp. But the God Emperor of Mankind, as we knew him, was truly no more. And as I stated before, this marked the end of the Horus Heresy. The God Emperor of Mankind still sits to this very day in the Golden Throne. Psychers consistently being sacrificed in order to keep him alive. Oh yeah, and this is the Astronomicon. It's basically the North Star of the warp. Without it, humanity is just fucked. There's no other way of putting it. And this is the eternal gate that the Golden Throne is sat behind. And oh man, we have gotten through the Horus Heresy. We are a little over halfway through the presentation, and we haven't even gotten past humanity at this point. Oh, man. Alrighty. Now, at this point, we're kind of done with, like, the timeline sort of events and things. It's going to be brought up here and there, but, we're now just kind of going to go through different Xenos races, as well as how the Imperium of Man functions itself. We are currently in the 41st millennia, and the Imperium of Man is a shell of what it once was. And we will get to that as we go next. Here is the hierarchy of the Imperium of Man. As you can see, the Emperor is at the top. High Lord Sotera. The Inquisition are separate from everything else, and you're going to see why that is incredibly important. And, well, we're not going to go through every little section here. We're going to go through the very important ones. Now, here's all the insignias for each of the different sections of the Imperium of Man. So, actually, I'll end this section off by speaking about the God Emperor of Mankind. Because it is not up for debate. He was kind of the one who saved humanity. He united us on all our desperate worlds after the dreaded warp storm. However, he was also a very bad father when it came to the Primarchs thing, which kind of led to Horus Heresy and all that horrible stuff. And the Emperor's dream of a purely secular society for humanity actually, in a cruel twist of fate, after the Horus Heresy, the Emperor was then recognized as the God Emperor of mankind. And humanity still to this day recognizes him as just a literal god. Sorry, I'm repeating myself a lot, but yeah. Kind of didn't really get to achieve his mission, trying to fight against God, and then instead you become it when you never wanted to. And that is like the pure irony about the Imperium of Man. It stands for everything that is actually against within its society. The Emperor of Mankind is actually the purest representation of what the Imperium of Man had become after the Horus Heresy. Something once great and pure that is now just a rotten carcass of what it once was that still trudges on despite everything. Oh yeah, and I also mentioned a little tidbit. Because I think it's funny, I heard from a source, I can't remember exactly what it was, that the Emperor is consistently in unimaginable pain every single day. However, he powers through it because his love for humanity is so strong. Truly awe-inspiring. Okay. Now we can talk about the different sections of the Imperium of Man. Now we are going to start with the Imperial Guard. You might think, these guys look kind of normal. They don't look like Space Marines. You are correct. The Imperial Guard is made up of regular people, just like you and me. And they are like, hey, here's a lasgun. Now go, fight, now go fight the worst horrors you could ever imagine. And you are for sure probably going to die. And you are supposed to go, yes, for the God Emperor of Mankind, and proudly charge to your death, because that is what the God Emperor would want for you. No, he wouldn't, but I digress. They're also pretty cool because, kind of take different aspects of, different armies throughout our human histories. As you can see, they got kind of those fluffy hats that I'm pretty sure the British wore with their armies. I think they also might have been Russian. And then you got these other guys that are more on kind of swampy worlds, so they adopted kind of a Rambo sort of army mentality. The Imperial Guard's main strength is its raw numbers. It's literally just a wave of humans that they set in order to hopefully drown out their enemy. If they if there is a 90% mortality rate with the Imperial Guard, but they still achieve their mission, that's a big old check mark in the book. We did a good job today, boys. The losses don't really matter because the Imperium of Man is like, its population's in the trillions to quadrillions, possibly even the quintillions. Nobody cares about you in the Warhammer 40k universe. You die, you're not even a blip on the radar. You're not even really dare I say, you're not even really a statistic. You're just done. Because humanity is so big and terrible, and people are just dying every day. Your life does not matter. So there's one little meme I like with the Imperial Guard that sums it up pretty quickly, where one guy is giving them like a little number sheet which shows all the fatalities. It's like, wow, really? This is really bad. And this happened, right? And we're like, yeah. And then the Inquisitor commander was like, oh man, we did something wrong here, but I don't know what we did wrong. When you're a part of the Imperial Guard, you have to have literally undying conviction towards the Imperium of Man. These commandeers of these Imperial Guard, they're literally taught, if you see the slightest hints of hesitation from an Imperial Guardsman, you shoot them right on the spot, in front of everybody. Even the mere thought or the illusion of you betrayed the Legion is not accepted in the Imperial Guardsmen. You are all the first line of defense for the Imperium of Man. Pick up your gun and charge into that Tyranid swarm. And if you die, you do it for the Imperium. Because as they say, only in death does service end. And now we get to... Oh, whoops. My mom is knocking. Nope, that was my dad. I was shouting too much. I was filled with too much... Okay, that's handled. Yeah, I was filled with too much Imperial further that my parents could apparently hear me. But it's okay. We trudge on like the Imperial Guard. And oh boy... Now this is going to be fun. Now we're going to talk about Caiaphas Cain. I gotta bring up his song because it's kind of been stuck in my head today ever since I first found out about it. The Caiaphas Cain is recognized as the hero of the Imperium. And he is a horrible... Whoops, I'm speaking too loud. He is a horrible, selfish coward of a man. Yes, here's his theme. He's not just a commandeer, he's also an inquisitor for the Imperium of Man. Because he is goddamn Caiaphas Cain. Caiaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium. Caiaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium. Now, you might think, what's so special about Caiaphas Cain? I just said he was a huge coward. Well, okay, we're gonna have to pause that so I can focus. But Caiaphas Cain's he was actually born on Terra, and his parents died at a young age. They were probably Imperial Guardsmen. He has a series of books, which are kind of written as memoirs post-career of his great commandeering under the Imperial Guard. Now, Caiaphas Cain, I'm not sure if you can really say decided to. I think they recruit these people just to throw them into battle. But Caiaphas Cain was an Imperial Guardsman. He never really did really well in the school. And he joined the army. And he never wanted to fight. Caiaphas Cain never wanted to fight. Because the 40k universe is an absolute shit show horror spiel. He signed up to be part of the artillery regiment. Because as he put it, you're as far away from the action as possible, and all you have to do is lob bombshells. So he thought this was his best way around the whole fighting thing. Um, However, while they were fighting an orc storm during his first mission, then a Tyranid swarm came up, and Caiaphas Cain proudly, bravely went, "Nope, I'm done. I can't do this," and he defected and just drove off from in one of the Imperial vehicles. And this was going great until he ran into a Tyranid stream that was actually about to flank them. He did a Tokyo Drift U-turn and frantically radioed for his guardsmen to start shooting artillery shells behind him before reuniting with his legion, and they were actually able to successfully fight off the stream. And now Caiaphas Cain thought he was absolutely screwed because he just defected from his chapter, as they are called. That's the little armies that they have. They're called chapters in 40k. And they were like, "Caiaphas Cain, we have to award you for your unbelievable bravery. Even during the heat of battle, you did a solo scouting mission, and you found out that there was a Tyranid fleet about to flank us." And he was like, "Oh no, I can't tell them that I was about to defect because I would just be killed on the spot." So he went, "Yes, I could tell the wave of battle, and I knew something was awry, so I did that scouting mission." And they're like, "Oh my god, here's a medal. Here, we're gonna sign you up for an even more dangerous Imperial Guard mission." So what followed was just a horrible sequence of events where Caiaphas Cain was only ever concerned with his own survival and wanting to get away from the action as much as possible. However, the more he fought, the more his accomplishments grew. And as such, he was put in even more dangerous positions, and he was even forced to go on the front lines because of the skills that he had acquired over the years. And he had to consistently live in the lies that he created for himself. He had to fight. He had to fight Eldar. He had to fight Tyranids. He had to fight orcs. He had to go through all of this crap when he never wanted to. So much so that he actually rose to the rank of a commandeer. I'm not actually sure if they're called commandeers in 40k, but we're just going to roll with it. He was even given the status of an inquisitor. We'll talk about inquisitors later, but basically they're the space police. And Caiaphas Cain was ready to accept this outright, but the problem is he had so much accomplishments on the battlefield that he would frequently be pulled into doing different, horrible battles for the Imperium. So much for that cushy desk job, because guess what? You're fighting another Tyranid stream today, Caiaphas Cain, the hero of the Imperium. He was put in charge of two chapters that actually hated each other. One olive man and one olive woman. And the part about him not doing really well in school is important to mention because Caiaphas Cain, instead of doing the regular commandeer thing of as soon as there's the slightest hint of defection, shoot them, he was actually like, okay, let's just solve this diplomatically. Look, whenever it was a violent quarrel, he would punish them accordingly. And he did kind of smart things, like he combined both of their names of these two chapters, in order to be like, hey, we're one chapter now, but the name represents that you guys used to be separate. And they're like, and they really like this. He even humored the guardsmen once they were he even humored the guardsmen whenever they brought their own thoughts to him, while simultaneously saying in his head how stupid they were. But he at least gave the veneer that he would listen to them, and this just gave him more like respect within his chapter. And now here's where it gets kind of funny. Caiaphas Cain was absolutely loved by this chapter. He would be saluted when you actually weren't required to, and he would always be in the heat of battle, making brilliant strategic moves and fighting against the biggest horrors of the galaxy. All the while, he never wanted to do any of this. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting. So these books are actually kind of written from the perspective of Caiaphas Cain, but also edited by one of the Inquisitors. And Caiaphas Cain would be the first to tell you that he is a coward, and he was never... and the only reason he got as far as he did was because he was extraordinarily lucky. He would proudly throw people in harm's way if it meant his own safety. And his main purpose whenever he was a commandeer was to avoid fighting as much as possible, unless it was absolutely necessary, or the problem would persist unless he did it. Whenever he fought in the front lines, it was more just to keep up with appearances than anything, or because he was literally forced into the front lines. He has a very interesting case of imposter syndrome, actually, because Caiaphas Cain, as I said, calls himself like very selfish and self-interested and all this stuff. But when you look at accounts of other people around Caiaphas Cain, they say, "Oh my God, he's so brave. His tactical decisions are genius." Like he would say in his head, "Why is my chapter fighting so strongly? That we're gonna lose this battle." Not realizing that they are fighting this hard because they are with the great Caiaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium. And that's Caiaphas Cain. He never wanted to fight. He ended up having to. He did not do things by the book at all, and he was recognized as a hero for it. And get this, although his status, although he's kind of listed as dead, in reality he's actually still listed as alive by the Inquisition, because it's like, if we're ever in a pickle, Caiaphas Cain is our guy in order to get us out of it. So God bless Caiaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium. Oh boy. Okay, we are on slide 193 of 301. And we haven't even gone past humanity yet. It's okay, we power through. Okay, so now we have to bring up the ecclesiarchy. Now the ecclesiarchy is the main church of the Imperium of Man, who they worship, well, none other than the God Emperor of mankind himself. It is the sole religion of the Imperium, and it is actually its greatest force in its unity, because we all recognize the Imperium of Man. Of course, there's there are variations from planet to planet, but for the most part, they stay pretty unified because of that. Because of the ecclesiarchy. Here's one of their grand churches for the God Emperor of mankind himself. Oh boy, hell yeah. And now we get to talk about the ecclesiarchy's main army. The Adeptus Sororitas, aka the Sisters of Battle. Now, it was said as part of the ecclesiarchy that no man could bear arms. They did not say anything about women, now did they? Nuns with guns for sure, yes. The Adeptus Sororitas are super religious nuns off to fight against the horrors of the universe. Okay, wait, I need a second or to ground my thoughts again. Everything part of the Adeptus Sororitas is religious themed. They they drop into battle through churches. They literally drop churches into the battlefield. Um, they have organs that shoot rockets out of them. Okay, they have like literal babies that they did that like servitor thing where they fuck with their mind in order to like fly in like those like Vatican baby things you see in the Basilica in the Vatican. Fly in to give them ammo and armor and shit. Like these sisters are freaking awesome, and I think it's pretty cool because 40k can be a bit of a sausage fest, but dare I say, as awesome as Space Marines are, the Adeptus Sororitas are probably just as awesome. I mean, come on, they have so much religious fervor in them. Okay, uh, yeah, the Adeptus Sororitas, everyone. Guns with guns. This one's also pretty sick. Oh god. Okay, no, we gotta keep our energy. Okay, cool. Um, now we talk about the Inquisitors. Now, the Inquisitors are like like the KGB in Russia, or like the super KGB. They are space police. Their whole purpose um is to scout out any dangers of Xenos attacks, any psychers, and of course any reports of heresy. Now, heresy in the Imperium is when you say anything that is heretical against the Imperium of Man, where you will either be executed or turned into a servitor for it. And oh my god, this is the quote for the Inquisitors. This is like their banner, the motto that they run under. Innocence proves nothing. That gives that gives you perspective on who we're dealing with here. They believe even if there is a report of heresy, it must be bounded in some reality, and none of that should ever be tolerated because they are the Inquisitors. Damn it, nobody's gonna question them. Their authority rivals that of Space Marines. The they are the space police, and they will ensure that the Imperium of Mankind stays as strong as it always has been. Oh man, I should really bring up more quotes for these guys. Let me see if I can get one for the Adeptus Sororitas, because we got some. Because let me tell you, Warhammer 40 quotes go freaking hard. And that one isn't so good. Oh well. But here's one for the Ecclesiarchy, aka the Adeptus Ministorum. There can be but one emperor, one god, one savior, one deliverer. Without him, a billion souls are not but fodder for the ever-thirsting evils of the warp. Oh man. So yeah. Oh cool. We also get to talk about Exterminatus. Now, Exterminatus makes me giddy with glee. So, Exterminatus is what is issued when a planet under the Imperium of Man is deemed too far gone. The resources needed in order to save it outweigh the benefit that it gives to the Imperium. So they issue Exterminatus on the planet, which is when they send a giant space laser bomb in order to not just purge all life on the planet, but all biomatter itself, reckoning it to dust and dirt to the point where you never knew something was once there. You could not even be involved. You could just be a regular guy, and then a bunch of space lasers appear from the sky and kill everything you know and love as 10 billion people die. And don't worry, there's many different forms of exterminatus. It's not just space lasers. They can also send they can also literally make natural disasters on the planet itself. Um, Here's a quote from Exterminatus Extremis. Some may question your right to destroy 10 billion people. Those who understand know that you have no right to let them live. God, shit goes so hard. Oh man. Oh shit, I think I have a primer quote here too. Let's bring this up too so you know how cool they are. They shall be my sons, and in them will live the hopes of a unified humanity. There will be the strength to prevail, not only when victory lies within easy reach, but even when it seems unattainable. When doom settles like a shroud all about, in those times of darkness, my noble sons will shine the brightest of all. Oh no! Oh damn. That was a quote from the Emperor of Mankind. Oh man. Yes. So much for that bright light. Oh my god, my voice is giving out. Okay. What we got after this? Oh yeah, don't worry. We'll bring up Exterminatus later. We have one of my favorite stories in 40k to talk about that one. Next, let's talk about Mars. This is Mars, everybody. And in this, we have in this planet, this Forge world, we have the Adeptus Mechanicus. Yes, evil Mars. The Adeptus Mechanicus are a strange group of humans who have literally bounded themselves with technology. You may be wondering to yourself, with all this war and stuff, wow, how are they making all this stuff? The Adeptus Mechanicus are in their super secret, not really secret, Mars underground base because of Mars stuff. Okay, so the Adeptus Mechanicus actually during the goddamn, I'm mixing this all up in my head. During the point in human time when like the warp stone happened and we lost like contact with all our planets, the Adeptus Mechanicus were kind of just chilling on Mars still. And they were actually pretty self-reliant for the most part. They're like, surface world kind of got destroyed by nukes, I think, so they retreated into their underground Mars layers, where they became increasingly more reliant on technology to survive and live, eventually bounding themselves with it. Yes, the machine spirit. So the Adeptus Mechanicus hold the undying belief that there is a machine god that exists within every, machine. And this goes like and this goes beyond when you try to turn on your phone and like it's not working and you're like, come on, open. Yeah, this goes beyond that. Like they literally believe there is a machine god within your phone that you have to pray to, that you have to believe in, that you have to like set up a bunch of incense around the place and do like religious hymns and all that stuff. Because these are the Adeptus Mechanicus, and they worship the machine god, also known as the Omnissiah, although the Omnissiah is a different name for the machine god, and the motor god, as part of their machine worship. Now, you might have picked up on something as I mentioned this. Wait, they worship a machine god, not the god emperor of mankind? That's heretical. Heresy. there is a slight problem with that, though, because you may be wondering, why haven't humanity wiped them out? They didn't really have a problem during with all that other crap. Well, there's a slight problem in the sense that the Adeptus Mechanicus, they make all the armor, they make all the guns, they make all the machines. So they're kind of forced to let the Adeptus Mechanicus believe in their weird machine god spirit things, because otherwise they wouldn't have any of that shit. There are no people that understand machines like the Adeptus Mechanicus do. Oh god, okay, wait, we need to talk about how machinery works in 40k, because it's actually very different than how it exists in our time. So, you may have remembered what I mentioned before about the age of technology and how humanity kind of burrowed into being very anti-technology, and not wanting to discover anything over the fears of the AI uprising and all that crap. So, that led to us falling into a state of ignorance to the point where all the ships we fly, even the guns we shoot, we don't know how they work. We don't know how to make them. Imagine we all have iPhones, right? Now imagine we all have iPhones, and then one day we forget how to make the iPhone. And the iPhones we have are all that is left. And yeah, we can replace parts of them and stuff. Maybe we can kind of know how they work, but we don't actually know how to make an iPhone. And that's how technology works in the Imperium Van. Everything has to be repaired to one extent or another. They literally have these long leg walker things. And the guy who made them died. And the Adeptus Mechanicus are so scared of them not working again that they literally always keep them on and have them continuously run in a circle. And they have to corral them whenever they want them to use for battle, because because they don't know if they turn them off if they're actually going to turn on again. And they're really important to them. So yeah, that's kind of where the basis of the Omnissiah comes in, and also the Adeptus Mechanicus have this kind of collective consciousness as part of their machine, their reliance on machinery, and they have an undying belief in knowledge and the continuous quest for knowledge, and they believe the flesh is weak, but only in the sense that the human mind is the most important thing, and while the flesh is weak, it must be, repaired and maintained as much as possible in order to keep the most important thing, which is the human mind. So that is why they look very techy and have all these metal blips and bloops about them. They'll also do, they'll do stuff like remove parts of their brain that allow for empathy, or, I don't know, do what Angron did, make them more angry so they can go into battle and shit, because they are the Adeptus Mechanicus, and guess what? They are pretty fucking awesome. Here's the Credo Omnissiah of the Adeptus Mechanicus. There is no truth in flesh, only betrayal. There is no strength in flesh, only weakness. There is no constancy in flesh, only decay. There is no certainty in flesh, but death. Adeptus Mechanicus, everybody. They are extremely weird, and they are fantastic. Mars people, everybody. Oh, and the Imperial Man gives them a level of autonomy that is almost unreasonable. I say unreasonable by Imperium standards. That whole thing about the collective consciousness, but AI being outlawed. Well, there's no actual way to confirm that the Adeptus Mechanicus are not using AI when they're talking about their machine god and all these prayers and shit that they do for them. These guys aren't even human. The Adeptus Mechanicus say, yeah, they are, and stop asking. we don't actually know if there's like a human fought behind them, as we stated before. Um, and also the Adeptus Mechanicus help do like the space armoring stuff. You might remember from the armoring of the Space Marine. Like they literally give Space Marines like an exoskeleton, and then they do the prayers for like the armoring in order to allow them to like actually like be mobile and shit within it. Um, there's also the Dark Mechanicus, which are similar to that which they fall to chaos. Basically, anything can fall to chaos. I can fall to chaos. You can fall to chaos. It just happens. You know, as I said, you could just be having dinner with your family, and then half of your apartment complex explodes because one fucker fell to chaos, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Oh boy. So yeah, the very cool Gothic architecture with their like Mars underground bases. God, I'm running out of words to say. I like the Adeptus Mechanicus. Okay, they are funny computer guys who believe there is a funny little guy in their computer. This is Necromunda. It's another Forge world that is used to create things and stuff. And these big spire thingies are called hive worlds. We'll talk about hive worlds later. Now, next up, oh boy, save yourself, everyone. The God Emperor of Mankind is coming back. So, during the Siege of Terra, the God Emperor of Mankind knew he needed not just a Space Marine, but an elite, um, like an elite Space Marine force that would help save humanity. So, from all the Loyalist regions, he got one of the best psychers from each of these Loyalist regions, and he brought them together to form the Grey Knights. Now, you gotta keep in mind, like, psychers are still kind of persecuted in 40k society. If you're found at a young age, one of your actual best case scenarios is to be taken by the military and turned into some kind of weapon of war, because otherwise you're probably going to lose control of your psychic energy and like kill a bunch of people. Um, so these are the Grey Knights, and they're like super space marines. I think the statistic is like for every 10,000 space marines, there's one Grey Knight. They are Psyker Space Marines, and they are just so cool. They really are. These guys just wreck shit wherever they go. Let's see if we can get a cool Grey Knight quote. We are the warriors of the Grey Knights, armored in faith, shielded by devotion, and armed with purity of purpose. But greater even than these, we carry the light of the divine Emperor of mankind into the dark places to purge the demonic wherever it may be found. Grey Knights. Now, and then besides the Grey Knights, there is also another even more elitist army force in 40k. I actually love these guys. The Adeptus Custodes. For every like 10,000 Grey Knights, there is one Adeptus Custodes. Adeptus Custodes, to give you perspective, they are the guardsmen to the God Emperor of Mankind himself. They are conditioned so thoroughly, so deeply, that literally every single one of their actions is with the express purpose of serving the Imperium of man. Let's get a Custodes quote so we know what you're. Oh man, I need to drink some water soon. My throat's giving out. How many? Oh god, I just realized we're still on humans. I mean, you can't really argue against it. Humans are the most developed race in 40k. They have a very interesting history, and of course, we're humans, so it's very relatable to us, I have to say. Uh, Here it is. The ancient declaration made by the Emperor of Mankind during the Age of Strife. These men are my bodyguards, their lives forfeits the guarantee of my physical safety. Of their loyalty to me there shall be no question or doubt. I, and I alone, shall have the authority to stand in judgment over them. No other commander shall they have in battle nor in service. None shall bar them from me, and none shall hamper or stall their mission. So it is decreed. Adeptus Custodes, they have psychic energy as well. They live for 500 years. They will stand in place for 100 years. They will watch over everybody. They will see the movements of people. They will see who comes by, and and in a single moment they will strike from their 100-year stature in order to defeat the enemy as they view it. Um, this is a pretty hard quote that I have to bring up. For 100 years I stood my watch amidst the somber shadows of the Sanctum Imperialis. I was still as a statue, but always ready, always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within little moved and nothing changed. For 100 years I did naught but wait. Yet had any threat appeared, I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years I stood my watch, and as it ends I can tell you this. Patience is a weapon. Yeah, um, they do not eat, they do not sleep, they stand, and they are ready to strike. And to give you the perspective of how powerful these guys are, um, any battle they are involved in, um, the the describers, I can't remember the 40k term for them, describers, any battle the Adeptus Custodes are involved in, they count it as a victory before it is even fought. To even place any doubt against the Adeptus Custodes is viewed as heresy. Oh boy. We got So yeah, they are like the elitists of the elite force. They are blessed by the god emperor of mankind himself, and they are just so cool. They really are. And then on the female equivalent, we have the Sisters of Silence, also known as blanks. Don't worry, women are back, everybody, and they are also Adeptus Custodes. So, the Sisters of Silence are like Adeptus Custodes, except they have like a genetic mutation in their mind. Well, first off, they take a vow of silence. They do not speak, they communicate through hand gestures and stuff. And they literally have a genetic mutation within their mind that like suppresses them from the warp itself, from all chaos. And everybody is connected to the warp. You and I were connected to the warp. And they're extremely suppressed, nigh blocked out from the warp, to the point where when they stand by like a normal person, it'll make them sick. Because that sort of like bond is severed to one extent or another. Oh man, I wonder how much memory this whole thing is gonna take. Okay, Sisters of Silence, their motto: we are mute but not without power. We are silent but not without resolve. We are untouchable but not without courage. We are sisters and have but one father. We are seekers and we shall find our prey. We are warriors and woe to those we oppose. The Emperor's mark is on our brow. All who deal with the warp must beware. His judgment and vengeance is ours to deliver. Whew, hell yeah. Okay, that is all I have for the Adeptus Custodes. And now, oh, okay, if you thought we were getting grimdark enough, we're now going to talk about the Officio Assassinorum. Now, the Officio Assassinorum is like an elite another elite force. They're different, I promise. They're like an elite force for like battle purposes, and they have each like different, and they are like elite specialized forces for battle in various different ways. Um, Now, and they are actually freaking terrifying. Actually, I'll say first, to be part of an officio assassinorum, first off, that's a terrible choice, and I don't even believe you're allowed to make it in the 40k universe. What they do is they grab orphans from all sorts of different types of planets. Um, and then they bring these orphans onto a ship filled with a bunch of other orphans that lost their parents in the 40k universe. And then they subject them to intense physical and psychological abuse. Um, they they almost encourage fighting amongst them. Um, Amongst the kids, they will intentionally give them less supplies in order for them to fight against each other for what little they have. They will do stuff like increase the heat on the ship to unbearable degrees to making it freezing as all hell. They will fuck with the gravity, and they will consistently condition them um, to to know who their enemies are, and um, and that they are and that they stand against the Imperium. We believe in the God Emperor of mankind, and your express purpose is to destroy them all. And sometimes these ships will come back to Earth, and all the orphans will just be dead by that point, and they'll just be like, wasn't a good batch. We'll get them next time. So yeah, about 80% of these orphans will probably die on their way to Terra. But those who make it out, honestly, I say those who died are the lucky ones, because what they do to these ones, oh boy. So first we have the Vindicare Temple, and these guys are completely specialized in assassination. They will sit there for days, weeks, months on end, not blinking, not missing a single bleed, in order for their targets to become at perfect range for them to snipe them from 500 kilometers away with unbelievable accuracy. Oh yeah, this is a servitor skull. Remember, there's still a human mind behind this. Good old Imperium of Man. Next we have the Calidus Temple. These guys are like more like um these guys are the infiltrators for Xenos races. Their bodysuits will literally like take the form of the species that they are trying to infiltrate, so they can work up their ranks to get to the prime moment where they can take out their leader or literally become the leader. And they are the Calidus Temple. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Also extremely cool. Here's the two of them standing side by side in some kind of super important officio assassinorum mission. Next, we have the Eversword Temple. So these guys easily probably have it the worst out of all of them. So, as I said, they get an orphan. They do all that great shit to them. And then they do like what's that movie called? Clockwork Orange kind of conditioning, where they will make you viscerally sick by all of the horrors of the universe and mentally, psychologically torture and condition you to be an undying servant of the Imperium of Man. After which they will do surgery on you in order to fuck with your brain to the point where you're no longer even really a person. You are just a raging machine that can only see Horus himself around you, around everyone. And then they will cryo-freeze you. And then, just in case that, kind of a tough battle, just want to, wipe out the planet, just get rid of everything, they will take you, they will fill you with a bunch of drugs that make you pain resilient, faster, angrier, just overload you with just an incredible amount of drugs, and then they will send you out to battle for you to kill everything. Space Marine and Xenos alike. Uh, it's genuinely terrible what they put them through, but hey, if you just want to like drop a nuke basically in the middle of a battlefield, you get one of these guys. And then finally we have the Calexi's Temple, also known as Anti-Psychers. So these guys are kind of brought for similar conditioning, and you know that like silence gene that they have in the Sisters of Silence, they're kind of implemented them with the gene seed, and they're like anti-psyker weapons. Even standing by psychers, they will like literally suck out the psychic energy within them and make them sick and stuff. They are like walking sirens to any psyker that goes, and they will literally beg for death than having to suffer for the noise that the Calix's Temple assassins have to put them through. Ugh, they are also very terrifying, just as all of these are. Let's see if I can get an Officio Assassinorum quote up here. I'd love to see how they justify all of these terribleness. Yes. The Decree Assassinorum. We do not determine the guilty. We do not decide the punishment. We are merely the cold instruments of the Emperor's vengeance. There is no form of death unknown to us. There is no form of terror beyond our means. There is no enemy outside our reach. We are the blade that hovers over the throat of the traitor. We are the bullet that awaits the heretic's skull. We are the poison in the throat of the alien. Officio Assassinorum. Now let's talk about big mechs. These are Imperial Knights. They are huge mechs. I don't really have anything to say about them other than they are freaking awesome, because big mechs in any form are always awesome. This is one of my favorite images. It shows kind of like the military fervor that is and loyalty that is inspired in the Imperium of Man as these things are sent off to defend them in the galaxy. If it wasn't obvious already, the Imperium of Man is a horrible fascist government. I think the closest equivalent it is to North Korea, and somehow even worse. I think the most terrifying part of the Imperium of Man, as horrible as they are, is that you can actually see the logic behind their actions and why they do what they do. And when you see the horrors that they have to face in the Milky Way galaxy, you almost believe that they have, like, a solid ground to stand on. So yeah, Big Mechs are really cool. I mean, look, this one's an elephant. And there's just giant Grey Knights. Come on. Come on. Look, they're literal cities, churches on the backs of these Imperial Knights. I love them. And here's like an area they're stored in Terra, one of their secret Mars underground bunkers and stuff. Oh, great. Now we get to talk about Terra. Okay, so this is the Terra the Imperium wants you to see. Glowing, shining, the city on a hill, representing all which the God Emperor of mankind had wanted for you to begin with. This is what Terra actually looks like. This is our planet. This is what happened to it. If you look at it from space, it is just... you see the smog in the sky surrounding the planet as like the lights give it like an eerie glow, and it's just a horrible urbanized spaghetti. All all remnants of what was before have been destroyed. All the forests have been cleared, all the seas have been vaporized. Terra is the capital of the Imperium of Man, and it is the absolute. Dare I say, I believe there's probably being born on Terra. I believe is one of the worst fates you could suffer in the 40k universe. Um, it is terrible. As you can see, the closest kind of equivalent you could have to it is Kowloon Walleye City, um, which is which, without going on a huge tangent, is basically what happens when you have just like kind of like a structure organically kind of build itself and combine with itself over time. Um, so you just have all these bridges and all these networks and stuff as one building is connected to another, and and there's nowhere to build but just up and up and up. There are trillions, probably even quadrillions that live on our planet. Like a guy did the math on this, like using the per capita population of Kowloon Walleye City and spreading it over all of Earth, and he even gave it like 10, 100, or 100 stories. And yeah, Earth can fit a lot of people if you do that on it. Doesn't mean you should. Um, and you just have all this gothic architecture. Let's talk more about Terra. So you'll know who is born on Terra because they have gray, sickly skin. I think the max age for people who live on Terra is about probably 30. Um, everyone, um, their delicacies include basically like mince meat of like people who die in xenospecies and whatever the fuck they find. So, gotta, gotta gobble that up. Um, oh yeah, my favorite. Um, so there's like a phrase on Terra. So you know how like when something bad happens to you, and you go like, well, that sucks, or is what it is. On Terra, their equivalent to that, what they say is, this is Terra. That's it. That gives you just like perspective on how much this place fucking sucks. It has been described as a black hole of resources that the Imperium is constantly shoving shit into. Terra is never satisfied. Your shipment of grain that was delayed by an hour, you just killed like a million people with that delay. And this constantly happens every single day. They constantly throw more and more into Terra, and it only consumes. It does not give anything. It is a black void that we continue to try to uphold because it is our home, and it is where the God Emperor with the Golden Throne sits. Other than that, there is no purpose to fucking Terra. As I said, there's like it's like 100 stories and yeah, it really does suck to live in Warhammer. Um, as I said, there's just like hundreds of stories of just like terribleness. I kind of have like a headcanon, but where I don't even think it's that far from reality. Like the higher story you live, like the better your place in society, because when you look at what they say about the lower places, like the worst place you could be is the ground. Because you just got like sometimes monsters will just appear and just kill people. I don't know, maybe an inquisitor will come and just wipe out your neighborhood just because. Um, and not only that, there's actually a below the ground where things are even worse than they are on the ground. There have been one of my favorite quotes. I don't have it in front of me, but it was basically like, "I dissected a body whose eyes had never seen sunlight, whose skin had never felt a fresh breeze, whose heart had never known love." Oh god. This place sucks so bad. Um yeah, these are hive cities. Um they're basically all over Terra, but they're also on other planets too. And there are urban hellscapes. This is what planets look like with hive cities. Like because the hive city is the only place you can live on, and everything else is just like filled with monsters. It's like Fallout out there. You can't farm anything. If you want to go out there, go to hell with it. Yeah, welcome to New York. Um, the and oh yeah, and these things, as I said, like nothing's like new in the Imperium of Man. This has all been like there for ages. You ever just be working one day and then your apartment complex, which was built around, I don't know, 2012, just frickin' collapses. And this apartment complex was combined with like 50 others. So now you have a small country's worth of people that just die right there, and then we just move on. For the Imperium! Oh man. And you might be thinking to yourself, Jesus Christ, this is like the worst ever. Why don't these people revolt? Now, first of all, that is severe heresy. But I will humor you just this once. So, I spoke about like the severe conditioning that the people of Terra go through, and the people of Terra constantly live in fear. They live in fear of society, of of the police, of their neighbors, probably even themselves. They live in fear of everything and everyone they know. Because all it takes is one slip up and you're sent to the Inquisitors, and oh boy, you don't want to know what happens to you then. Um, they're like there was like stories of like a sister of battle that like went to Terra, and everyone is just like hunched over, just like endless crowds of people, and she bumped into one person, and he looked up, saw the high ranking status that she was, and just like fell on the ground and pleaded for his life and begged and threw out all of his possessions on the ground and begged to keep his life, because these people constantly live in fear. Now, back to that revolt thing. Why don't they revolt? Um, there's no point. Um, you're just gonna get wiped off as soon as there is a hint of revolt. It's not just you; your whole neighborhood's just gonna get blown up. Um, and there's a horrible, horrible dichotomy at play where the church exists in order to keep the people of Terra moving, or just all of the Imperium of Man. The stronger the fear is, the stronger faith they have in the Imperium as like a way to combat it. So the worse one's life is on Terra, the more they're like, oh, but the Imperium of Man will make it better. God bless the Imperium of a Man, and they go to church more often, and they pray more, and they build more morale, and it's just terrible. The worse life is, the more like loyalty there is to the Imperium of Man, which just leads to just this constant suffering that cannot be broken because life on Terra is shit. This planet is shit. Get off this planet. Go. You probably can't afford to go. You probably don't even know there's other planets because the Imperium constantly has you in a state of ignorance, so you don't get any fancy ideas. We don't want ideas in the Imperium. We want to remain in consistent ignorance that has lasted us fucking 10 million Terran years, because this is how the God Emperor would want it, except the God Emperor does not want this. He is crying in his golden throne at what his society has become. Oh man, that was a little bit of a rant there. And these are the High Lords of Terra. These are kind of like, these are actually some of the most important people in the entirety of the Imperium of Man. Very very friendly faces, as you can see. They're probably the most important in all of Blue River. Most important in the entirety of the Imperium, man. And this is where we actually get to the 41st millennia. Um, And this is actually a big like story development that happened very recently. Um, Robute Gilliman came back. Yeah, that's right. He was like cryogenically frozen for 10 million Terran years, and he came back, and he was surrounded by 100 Chaos Space Marines. Didn't have a weapon, didn't have armor. He fought against and killed them all bare hands. He escaped, and oh god, we're getting to one of my favorite parts. He actually managed to get his way to Terra, where he was immediately crowned as like the actual ruler, um, as like the new ruler of the Imperium of Man. And Gilliman, when he saw what happened to the Imperium of Man, got super depressed. He's like, "This is what we fought for? This husk of a nation is what we have." He does not like anything in the Imperium Man, honestly, and he only took the helm because under like that hope that things could get better, and he's forced to drive the very thing that he has committed his entire life against. Very sad stuff. He's even told the ecclesiarchy that like he doesn't like them, but they are a necessary evil to the Imperium because it is the only thing that fosters unity within them. The faith in the God Emperor of mankind. Ugh. Let's see. Oh yes. Oh yeah. This is actually why I also kind of make the equivalent to North Korea, because North Korea is actually a necrocracy. They still believe Kim Il Sung is the actual. They recognize Kim Il Sung as like the president of North Korea. Kim Jong Un is not the president. It is Kim Il Sung. Kim Jong Un is just like viewed as like he's the guy who runs the country, but the actual leader is the dead guy. So it's kind of like the Imperial Man in that respects. So yeah, Gilliman's back. Gilliman's back, baby. Oh, and I have to bring this up. Gilliman, one of the first thing he did was go to the Golden Throne and see his father, or more accurately, what is left of him. And um, and he's like, "Father, what do I do? What do I do?" And the father, and he actually gave him like psychic messages, but his mind had deteriorated so much that it was just like single words, like Gilliman, son, fight, Xenos, go. Yeah. Um, Everyone kind of like speaks on behalf, like the High Lords of Terra and the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy. They all claim to speak on behalf of the Emperor, but like he's just like, and he's just like, just a dead corpse. But yeah, you can only speak in single words. It's like, so, Gilliman, fight, failure, failure, disappointment. And he says all this to Gilliman. Um, and Gilliman like tried to get some amount of like recognition from his father, and the Emperor basically admitted that he was that he only really ever viewed him as a tool in order to help humanity. And he does not hold any like personal connection to him other than that which can help humanity go further. Um, so yeah, really bad daddy issues. Imagine being cryogenically frozen for 10 million years, and then you finally see your dad, and he's just like a dead guy on a chair. And the one thing he says to you is that he still considers you a disappointment and a tool. Oh god, somehow that's one of the most depressing things in the 40k universe. Okay, god. Alright. Uh, Oh yeah, oh yeah, back to the Necrons. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna talk about all the different Xeno races of the galaxy. Up until now, we were talking just about the Imperium of Man and humanity. Um, I will say this right now before we get into it. Um, I think the Imperium, like, are, like, the worst. like, I support them only because they are humans, not because they are good at all. Because, like, the rest of the universe is, like, worse what they'll do to us. But, like, if you could choose to be any race in 40k, humans should be the last on your list. These guys are fucked. They are terrible. And they're probably only just as terrible because the rest of the humans is also terrible, but that doesn't negate their terribleness, which somehow is more terrible than the terribleness that they find themselves in the 40k universe. Okay, no more humans until I remember other stuff about them. Now let's talk about space Egyptians. The Necrons. Yeah, they're kind of just space Egyptians. That's their old thing. Tomb Worlds, Silent King, all that stuff. Quote for the Necrons: "There is a terrible darkness descending upon the galaxy, and we shall not see it ended in our lifetimes." The Necrons just have a bunch of these tomb worlds that have been buried over time that humans are just finding out about, and the things that come out are absolutely terrible. The Necrons are extremely resilient. You can kill them in battle, and then they'll just like pop up after some parts are replaced. There's not really a way to defeat them. If you do defeat them, they don't really have a soul, so they just kind of go away. But these guys are also probably the most technologically advanced in all of the Milky Way galaxy, because keep in mind that War in Heaven, man, they made some wild weapons to fight against them. They literally have the ability to like nuke stars. They make a star nuke. Do you know how many people that would kill a fucking star nuke? They could probably make black holes too, honestly, but they don't because they know just how destructive those powers are because of the War in Heaven. That's still very fresh in their minds. The Necrons are also surprisingly kind of like one of the nicer races in a weird way, because from the Necrons' perspective, um, they just kind of woke up one day and they're just like, after their 60 million year nap, and they see all these weird guys all over the Milky Way galaxy, kind of Neanderthals really, and they're just like, okay, we've come to reclaim our home. You can go now. Leave. We'll kill you. At least they're giving them a choice before they kill them. Funny robots, Egyptian tomb people. Try to, as I said, they are the most technologically advanced. They still have like different. They have a bunch of different dynasties and stuff, each varying in power and stuff. There's always kind of like an exception with each of these things. Here's the Silent King Nagash, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he's still around. Oh yeah, they also have their like super Necron shooty things with green energy, and they just fucking vaporize and kill you in an extremely painful way. Oh boy. I would say we're at the home stretch, but like, as I said, we were just talking about humans at that point, and like, we have like 5 different more species that we have to go through, and we already kind of have talked about the Necrons already, so we'll see how much this goes. Okay, next up, we have the Eldari. We mentioned the Eldari before too. So the Eldari are a dying race, basically. These guys have to like fight weird, think weird in order to keep their species alive. And because there's just not a lot of them. They need to stick around and be weird and unpredictable in order to find their way around the galaxy. Let's see, Inquisitor Grudwald on the Ordo Xenos on the Eldari. Perfidious Eldar. They had the stars in their grasp and now are left to sift the dust of their once fabulous realm. For all their intellect and mysticism, they cannot contain the beasts within them, nor tame the wild monsters of the shadow. Why should we pay them any heed? Pretty sure Eldari are also Psyker attuned. Oh shit! Oh god, we need to go back a bit. I forgot to talk about the the webway. Yes, the webway. Okay, so part of the reason the Eldari are so successful is because they found a way to actually circumvent the warp. They made themselves like a little dimension that kind of worked similar to the warp that basically allowed them to um, transfer the galaxy without getting consumed by chaos, which also helps since they were all psychers. So it was like they're in the cool psychic energy, got a little webway and stuff. And the Emperor was actually trying to make a webway in order to free humanity from chaos. And then that very jealousy that Horus was like, why is our father sitting in the secret Himalayan mountain base all by himself all the time and not telling us what we're working on? What he is a false god. He was never a god. Yeah, the God Emperor of Mankind was trying to build a webway, so we didn't have to go for the warp. God, I'm repeating myself again. How much am I gonna edit this? I don't even know. Um, but yeah, Eldari are space elves. What more do you want me to say about them? There's not a lot of them left, but they're still very dangerous. And keep in mind, they still live in a post-scarcity society. Now they just have to fight more, but like still get food. That can't be too bad, And then we have the other equivalent, which is the Drukari. So, the Drukari are Dark Eldars, and they are fucking terrible. So they're in the webway, right? When Slanesh was born. So they actually didn't. So they didn't actually get consumed by Slanesh. However, that doesn't mean they're free from her. So, in order to ward off Slanesh, they basically have to play by her rules. And that means causing unimaginable suffering to any people they capture and come across. Um, they will they will not kill you outright. They will capture you, and then they will fill you with pain drugs, and then they will torture you, and then they will get your family, and then they'll torture you in front of your family, and then they'll torture your family in front of you, and they'll kill their family, probably kill the family in front of you, except just to cause you even more suffering. Then they cause you even more physical suffering, even more psychological suffering, until you become a husk of who you, in order to feed off of your overabundant sadness and depression. And then they'll do this for, I don't know, a couple hundred years maybe. And then when they're bored with you, they will then inject you with chemicals that will literally freeze your body. We gotta keep you alive still, and they'll turn you into like a trophy, basically. They may turn you into a table or a couch or just something, and they'll make sure to keep you alive and conscious throughout the whole thing. And it'll probably also let you have your mouth too, so you can scream about how much of a horrible existence that you now live in because you had the displeasure of having to be captured by the Drukari. A space marine once stated that he stepped into a room filled with these people, and their screams were enough to make a man sick. But then, even more horrifyingly, the longer he stated it, the less horrible the screams sounded, and the more they sounded like a unified choir, like it was almost peaceful. They are the fucking worst. They are just absolutely terrible. It's sick to even think about it. Anything they can do, they will do to make you suffer in order to stave off Slanesh. Okay, let's get a Drukari quote, shall we? We are the lords of despair, masters of terror. Dread and agony are our meat and wine, and they are plentiful indeed. Great stuff. All right. And now we have one more class of Eldar. We have the Harlequins. Now the Harlequins are kind of weird. They have this thing called the Laughing God, and they are basically clowns, performers, just having a good time killing people, and as long as they laugh and cause suffering and kill people, their laughing god will actually protect them from Slaanesh. So, yeah, there are a bunch of circus performers that go and kill people. Great stuff. Having a jolly old time. Uh, Harlequins. There we go. All theaters are theaters of war. War must needs to be theatrical. All their wars are merry, and all their songs are sad. Damn. But yeah, that's the Harlequins. Wish I had more to say about them, but there's actually not a lot of info about the Harlequins, at least compared to the Drukhari and Eldari and blah 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 bari. Oh hell yeah! Now let's. Okay. What, they have to play the part of Slaanesh's birth? Oh god, this is like being forced into the Jesus play in school. Thankfully, I didn't do that because we're all atheists here in Canada. Okay, well, I don't know about you. I'm getting depressed talking about all these sad races, except Harlequins. They're just having a jolly time. Let's talk about one of my favorite Xenos races in all of 40k. Orcs! Orcs! Oh man. So orcs are, what if British people were a Warhammer 40k race? So, oh god, I'm gonna need to, actually, you know what, I'm gonna get some water because I need to do some equivalent of the orc voice, otherwise I will not be able to do them justice. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, we're actually almost at the 4-hour mark that I set for myself. I think I started around like 9:20 my time, and now it's almost 1, so yeah, we actually are probably going to surpass my maximum estimation at this point. Oh, what fun, what joy. I remember when I said this was going to be 2 hours. Alright. The orcs! Our orcs talk like this, and they're just having a grand time. They just want to fight and kill and fight and kill some more. To be an orc is just yes, they all sound British. They all talk in a broken English accent. They let's get the quote I have for the orcs, because it actually gives you perspective on just how like terrified these fuckers are. Here we go, here we go, here we go. That's one of them. Yeah, there was the other one from like the humans themselves. Okay, I'll have to look this up in the background. I'll try to keep. Oh, this is a good quote though. Oh, Oxys is never defeated in battle. If we win, we win. If we die fighting, so that doesn't count. If we runs forward, we don't lose ever, cause we can come back and for another go, see? Orcs. I have to keep it quiet, otherwise my parents are gonna come in and like wonder what's wrong with me even more. So yeah, the greenskins, they easily have like the highest numbers of any Xeno race in the Warhammer 40k. Okay, no. Snap out of it. You're gonna get through this. Okay, orcs. We're talking about orcs. Here's a quote from a rogue trader on orcs. Of all the races I have battled throughout the galaxy, the orc is the hardest to comprehend. They wage war with machines that should not work, care little for strategic gains, and are just as likely to slaughter each other as the enemy. How does one battle an enemy that defies all logic? And he has a point. Nothing about the orcs works. They are brash, they fight against each other all the time. They have just simplest childish almost mindset where they're like, where I'm an orc and I want to fight because I'm an orc. Who do we take orders from? Oh, the Orc War Master. Why is he the Orc War Master? Because he's the biggest, strongest orc. They also have like a economy that revolves around their teeth because orcs always fight, and their teeth grow back quickly, so it's like a weirdly stable currency that they use. And these guys are all fucking dumbasses that just want to fight and kill as much as possible. And you may be thinking like, how do they like? We're talking about like spaceships and space empires and stuff. How do orcs like do any of this? Well, orcs are so stupid. It actually kind of loops around into them being able to like technologically keep up with all of the other Xenos races. And that is because there's some kind of like connective orc consciousness that binds them all together. And part of this is if enough orcs believe in something, it becomes reality. One of the most common things for orcs is red makes you faster. They believe that the color red will make you faster, so they paint all of their weapons and all of their machines red, and it indeed makes you go faster. And then they also have other color codes like yellow makes you boom faster, boom more. So grenades that are yellow will explode more. Oh yes, blue means lucky, and my personal favorite, purple means sneaky, because you ain't ever seen a purple orc. Hey, you know what? He's got a point. Have you ever seen a purple orc? I haven't. They're horrible brutes, and they are. This is not even an exaggeration. They are like literally like a disease. They are a fungal virus. So orcs are actually mushroom people. And they kind of spread out from the wind and stuff, and they grow in the ground until they pop out. And what's that? Oh, an orc appears. And the problem is just there's this entire spore colony, and then all these orcs start popping up, and then there's even more orcs, and even more orcs. And then imagine you're just an Imperial's guardsman, okay? It's like the end of your shift, or almost the end of your shift, there's like 5 minutes left, and then you see something green in the distance, and then over the horizon, and then it gets bigger, and then it gets bigger. And then it's just a sea of green that you can't even look past. And all of those are big, dumb, bloodthirsty orcs ready for a good battle. And don't worry, they'll chop you up and scream and laugh the entire time, because to me an orc is just to live and fight. I keep saying that, but it's true. And the only way and orcs are extremely resilient too. Literally, if you chop off the arm of an orc, I'm not sure if it'll grow back, but like they will get an odd boy, as they call them, which are kind of like the scientists, medical guys, and then they'll just like stick some metal parts in them. They don't even need to work. They just stick a bunch of random metal parts. I was like, okay, there's your arm. Go back into your fighting. Because, as I said, there's this collective orc consciousness that allows them to just kind of like, almost on instinct, build things that they shouldn't. And and fight um, with like guns that shouldn't even work. Like there was this one story with like this Imperial guardsman, and he was fighting against a bunch of orcs, and they were all shooting at him and stuff, and they were able to fend them off. And he looks at the ground and one of the weapons they dropped, and he's like, "This is just a box of nails. It's not a. It's just a box of nails. It's not a gun." And they were just shooting it at me. But they believed it was a gun. That's the key. If enough orcs believe in something, it becomes reality. That's why they're able to make these things like Stompas. And Stompas are just terrible. They just come in, just with a bunch of orcs inside of them, with chainsaws and a bunch of machine guns and fire, and they come in and just burn and kill you. I thought this little graphic was funny. The anatomy of a Stompa. That's what they're called, Stompa. What, you know what you call a gang of orcs? The boys. Oh yes. Oh yeah, these are what their ships look like. As I said, literal scrap metal. Like, they don't know how to make these things. They shove a bunch of random crap together, and out comes a spaceship or a gun or anything because they are orcs. Okay? Look, if you were going to pick any Warhammer 40k race to be, if you were forced to, orcs. Orcs every day are living their best day. This is heaven for them. They're telling me I can wake up, fight my neighbor, fight some random guys, maybe I lose my arm, I get another arm, I get to fight some more. This is heaven. To be an orc is to win. And there's also... And then, sometimes, something called a wog will show up. What is a wog? A wog is when a bunch of orcs together start fighting, and they start fighting a lot, and then they declare, and then more orcs come in and join the fray of orcs until it becomes an endless green tide that just completely destroys whatever planet it goes to. Like, if the orcs were to unite under a common cause to, like, take over the galaxy, they would easily. It's just that they're so stupid and disunited that they can't. But why should they want to? Why should they care about it? Like the new Xenos races, they can just fight more, all that good stuff. Oh yes, and now we get to talk about their two gods, Gork and Mork. Gork is strong and cunning. Mork is cunning and strong. You might think, why do we got two orc gods? You idiot! If there was only one orc god, who would he have to fight? So that's what Gork and Mork do. They just constantly fight against each other, and this, like, helps with the orc consciousness or something. I don't know. And sometimes you'll have funny orc arguments like, Gork is better than Mork, and then they got the other big orc is like, no, Mork is better than Gork, you know what you're talking about. Then they fight and kill each other. Oh my god. Yeah, the greenskins, the orcs, easily the best race. I mean, come on. Just having a good time. Okay. I actually think we only have like 2 Xenos races left, so like, go me, go us, I guess. Honestly, I think it says more about you guys that you've sit in and listened this long than it does me rambling about this for so long. So, we shall trudge forward. Alright, so this one has a little bit of, background to it. Humanity is having a couple troubles, have a whole legion taken over by Drakari, got like 50 orc swarms you gotta deal with on a daily basis, still recovering from the utter atrocities of the Horus Heresy, and then, one day, they kind of show up to planets, and they're just like not there. They're just like empty husks, like imagine going for just like a scouting mission, like you're doing some kind of like, I don't know, census report, and you go to this planet and it's just gone. It says your census report says there were 8 billion people that lived here, and now they're just all gone. And there's not one bit of life on this planet. So they would let when so the person who was tasked with finding out what was happening was one of my favorite characters in 40k, Fidus Cryptman, an Inquisitor. And Fidus Cryptman was tasked, as I said, with finding out what's happening to all these empty planets. He went to them, he studied them, and he even found like recordings that had been decayed and stuff, detailing the what appeared to be a new Xenos race that they had to deal with. And whatever they could have imagined was nothing more horrifying than what actually existed. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the most terrifying race out of all of Warhammer 40k, the Tyranids. The Tyranids are ugly bug monsters that only that go to planets and consume every bit of biomatter they have in order to power themselves, only to go to other planets and leave dead husks of worlds in their wake. Tyrannid quote is very necessary for this one. There is a cancer eating at the Imperium. With each decade, it advances deeper, leaving drained, dead worlds in its wake. This horror, this abomination, has thought and purpose which functions on an unimaginable galactic scale, and all we could do is try to stop the swarms of bioengineered monsters it unleashes upon us by instinct. We have given the horror a name to solve our fears. We call it the Tyrannid race. But if it is aware of us all, it must know us only as prey. Yeah, we're kind of fucked. Yeah, so Tyranids are big bug monsters, and the story behind them went that during the Horus Heresy, when they were powering the Astronomicon, it shot up like a big light within the Imperium. And this helped them like get reinforcements at the time, but then, 10,000 Terran years pass, and then all these dead planets start coming in. So the Astronomicon actually was basically just like a bright light that the Tyranids used to realize, oh hey, there are people that live here in the Milky Way galaxy. Free food. That's all they do. They come in, they consume and eat in order to power their Tyranid hive fleets. As I said, they're the ultimate predators. They don't care. Yeah, hungry. They don't care that there's intelligent species here. They don't care about all these ideologies and battles and everything. It's all just food for them to eat and consume. And don't worry, the Tyranids consume in the most evil and horrible of ways. They have bioengineered weapons that shoot their like Tyranid Jews. I woke up my mom. God damn it. Bioengineered guns. They will literally shoot like tiny little Tyranid people at you. And then they will burrow into you. They will eat you from the inside. Attach to your spinal cord, cause you unimaginable amounts of pain. And they will eat you on the inside with you enough being able to not do anything about it. Keeping you alive and making sure to keep your vital organs alive so they can eat you in the most slow, painful way possible. And before you think, wow, that's a little bit extreme, bugs literally do that, like in nature, like parasites. There is nothing unrealistic about this, unfortunately. It's just now we're big. It's just now we have a friend big enough that could do that to us. And the most terrifying thing about the Tyranids is that although they are literally just huge predators that come to eat us, um, they are they they think. They are run by like norm queens, as they're called, with giant hive fleets that just come over, um, and and they adopt our battle strategies in order to do counter battle strategies in order to kill us easier so they can eat us. Um, unless and the worst part is that they incur no losses unless you destroy an entire hive fleet of Tyranids when they attack you. Even if just one lives, it's going to absorb all the knowledge that it got from that battle and then revive all of its companions so it can go over and fuck you over even harder. Um, and there are so many of them. It's actually fucking terrifying. You have no idea. Like, when the first Tyranid swarm, like, when Tyranid swarms occur, their presence, get this, it's literally, like, it blocked out the warp. As in, there were so many Tyranids and they had so much power that it cut off their fucking, like, access to the warp itself. The Chaos Gods. Fuck, I'm gonna yell again. The freaking Chaos Gods are terrified of the Tyranid race. There has been reporting that in the other galaxies outside the Milky Way no longer exists because the Tyranids found out about them and ate them. So, back to Fidus Cryptman, and this is really important. So, Fidus Cryptman found out about this, and he was understandably like, shit, this is bad. And then he found out the trajectory of where the rest of the Tyranids were coming from. And remember Exterminatus? So I never read the Exterminatus quote. Oh wait, actually I did read the Exterminatus quote already. Let's destroy a planet or 2 or 50. That's what Fidus Cryptman wanted to do. He said he went to the Inquisitors and he was like, look, there is a horror, a Xenos worse than any other imaginable, and it's coming from this direction. I am going to issue Exterminatus on this entire row of planets from where the Tyranids are coming them. Not to stop the Tyranids, but to slow them down in order to get our resources prepared for us to be able to match this threat. And the I just want to give you perspective about this. The Inquisitors were like, dude, you're fucking crazy. They said, no, dude, we're not going to do that. We're not going to issue Exterminatus on like 50 planets. We can't do this. And I'm going to bring up my favorite Fidus Cryptman quote. One cannot consider the fate of a single man, nor 10, nor 100, nor 1,000. Billions will live and die by our actions here, and we have not the luxury to count the cost. So with those powerful words, Fidus Cryptman ignored the Inquisitors and proceeded to issue Exterminatus on that entire row of planets, killing the hundreds of billions, probably trillions of people, honestly. And the worst part was that, or no, I'll get to that part later. This was able to successfully divert the Tyranids as he was able to lure them into an orc swarm for them to fight the orcs. Now, Fidus Cryptman was stripped of his Inquisitor status for this move, as they said it was too rash and all these other excuses. But here is a very key detail. He was not deemed a heretic because they knew that he was right. And to fight as Cryptman, has still committed his life in order to fighting off the Tyranid threat that the Imperium faces. As he is kind of a hero, honestly, as terrible as... Isn't even fair to call him terrible. He more so just has the balls to do what none of us would do in order to fight a threat of unimaginable scale, which is the Tyranids. Hell, even that Tyranid swarm that he unleashed on the orcs, he might think, oh, this is a match in heaven. Tyranids want food, orcs want to fight, let them fight for all eternity. Well, only one slight problem. So, if the orcs win, it's probably going to cause a walk. And who's knowing what to tell how many planets are just going to get fucking destroyed once that wog starts to hit. And if the Tyranids win, that is like a bunch of biomatter that they consume and battle tactics that they take. Which would we even be able to fight against? I don't even know. It's kind of a lose-lose situation they put themselves into, but there's literally no other way to fight against these Tyranid threats. God, like, I'm going to take you back all the way to the second slide. Okay, it's slides 275. This map of the Milky Way galaxy, hive fleets, those are hive fleets of the Tyranids. Look at the bottom there at Hive Fleet Leviathan. That is the galactic plane. It comes from under. The Tyranids are coming in all directions of the Milky Way galaxy. They're coming from under the fucking galaxy. We didn't even know they could do that. Oh my fucking god. Oh. Oh man. So, yeah, and imagine you're just here. Oh, hey, cool, a bunch of hive fleets. I guess I'm just fucked. They are ugly, brutal. They will rip you apart, slice you in half, and consume you for their continued expansion. And now, if that all did not terrify you, then this will. It is theorized, if not confirmed, that these are scouting legions. The actual horde has not come yet. Okay, I have a bunch of Tyranid sites. This is what we assume that the Hive Fleet looks like. You see that little dot up there? That's the Milky Way galaxy. We are surrounded. There is no escape. We might just be fucked. Like, the only thing that keeps me going, is a quote by one of the Imperium members about the Tyranids. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It goes along the lines of, the Tyranids, as great and fearsome of a race they are, know this one thing about them: they can bleed and they can die. That's the one thing that keeps me going. But then I look at this image and I think, no, we're kind of fucked. So I actually kind of skipped over another important part about the Tyranids. Oh yeah, that's a Tyranid fighting a Catan. You know, the space gods. So there's another way that Tyranids find a way to, consume you and eat you. So they have these things called gene stealer cults. So gene stealer cults, they basically kind of sneakily find their way to the galaxy, infiltrate their ranks, and kind of consume the minds of like the people in order to be devoted to the Norm Queen of the Tyranids. And basically, it spreads like a disease and a plague over the planet in order for them to uprise in order to get this planet ready for the Tyranid invasion. And they do this by like literally like mind controlling the people there in order to be subservient to the Tyranids for, easier consumption. There is so much fun going on in Warhammer. Like, remember when chaos was the biggest issue for the Imperium of Man? Like it is. Like, but like, it's more like top three, I'd say. Maybe top two. Because I keep flipping back and forth from the Tyranids. Because what is it like? You can't really fight chaos. Chaos is just it just is. Um, we have no way to really fight against it. And then the Tyranids are the fucking Tyranids. Like, what are you supposed to do? I like the symmetry of like, the gene stealer cult trying to make us subservient to the almighty Norm Queen. Oh god, I hate Tyranids. Fucking terrifying little shits that will eat you. And this is what a Norm Queen probably looks like. We do know this about Norm Queens and like, I think I don't know if like Norm Queen. I'm pretty sure Norm Queen just counts for like the headships. So you see, all Tyranids are connected by like this kind of collective consciousness, which probably has like a base at the base of the Tyranid High Fleet. But basically, if you kind of go up this chain of command and go to like one of these Norm Queen ships and you kill them, it will disrupt the Tyranids, and make them like much easier to kill because they no longer have that like guiding force that helps them, you know, kill you easier. Um, and then they just, consume your planet. This is what probably the High Fleet ships look like. And here's an Orc Fawn and a Tyranid. God, Tyranids actually fucking terrify me. There's big bugs, man. Who likes big bugs? Oh, man. Okay, that is enough about the Tyranids. We have gone to our final race. Xenos race, the Tau Empire. Do you like mechas and guns in space? Well, that's the Tau for you. Their quote is, "For the greater good." So, so the Tau are actually kind of an interesting race as far as all these other Xenos are concerned, because we actually found out about them fairly recently through a scouting expedition, but they were essentially Neanderthals. They were just kind of hitting rocks against one another. However, then a warp storm occurred, and it actually gave them like intelligence and whatnot. And of course, they fought against each other in different warring Tau tribes, but then they actually united under one ruling Tau tribe, which incorporated all of them into the Tau Empire. Um, and doing this, they all have their like specializations or like this beautiful commie paradise state. They definitely use mind control, though. Just a little heads up there. Like, they're not good people still. They're also blue, funny blue guys that are Tau. But I will say, objectively, like I guess by moral standards, they are the best Xenos race in all the Imperium. They're not even very violent, I'd say. Like they'll actually work with different Xenos races, if they come across them, and like to increase their sphere of influence. When they defeat a planet, they don't kill everybody on it. They'll actually like incorporate them into the Tau Empire for their quote unquote greater good. Um, this kind of makes them scary in their own right, but they're kind of playing the long game, actually. Like, let's get the oh yes, the quote from the Tao Empire. We are 5 castes, 1 people. We stand united, dedicated wholly to the greater good. As we progress, we will encounter further barriers. We will overcome them. Our future is now. Believe in our destiny. And the greater good quote is, a Chow chooses neither to its caste nor its true name. We are blood-born to the first and born by blood to the second, named for what we have done and might yet do. And like ourselves, our true names are not carved in stone. It is their religio-philosophical principle, which is utilitarian in the sense that it holds that all self-aware beings should strive to ensure the greatest good for the greatest number of intelligent beings in the galaxy. It's really weird saying that in the Warhammer 40k universe. But as I said, the Tau definitely like use mind control and maybe slavery too. They're not exactly good either. But they do have giant mech suits that they use to shoot at people on range because that's the Tau people. They are super long range guys. I don't know how an orc image got in there, but who cares? Yeah, they hate orcs. Oh, and now I get to mention the best faction of the Tau Empire, which is the Farsight Enclaves. Now, the Farsight Enclaves are kind of like a kind of breakaway faction of the Tau Empire. Um, and I will not and they are basically lawful good. And I'm not even saying that by like 40k standards. Like they are legitimately like the only good faction in the entire 40k galaxy. Because for one, they do genocide, but only against orcs and tyranids. And I don't think we really disagree with that because they're orcs and tyranids. And they will accept any person that wishes to join their empire. They do have like kind of a caste system, but not really. Like, because it could be interpreted from the text as like, oh, if you're like an iron worker and you want to join the Farsight Exclaves, they're going to assign you to like a forgery, which makes sense. You want to contribute to the society and stuff. And yeah, they are just generally good. They fight that stuff for the greater good, as they call it. And you might think like, huh, we need more of these guys. Yeah, there's not a lot of them. Like, they are like, they are like imagine if Warhammer 40k is just like a giant like black hole of nothingness. The Farsight Enclaves are like one bright dot. They are meaningless, but uh, um, but yeah, they're like one bright dot in like just a vast dark emptiness. Um, so they are not going to change things anytime soon. But it's kind of comforting to know that there are good guys in the Warhammer 40k universe. The Farsight Exclaves. Okay. I will say we've actually reached the end of the presentation. But I'm going to use this opportunity to run over some quick things that I missed in the process, just like quick notes and stuff. And one of them is Caiaphas Cain, that guy I mentioned a while ago. Uh, he was fighting against Gene Stealers with the Tau. However, some of his comrades died, and they came back, and he killed them on the spot because like that's what happened with Gene Stealers. He died, and they get taken over by Gene Stealer, and then like they take over the planet. So the Tau left, but then he noticed one of the Tau people were experiencing like Gene Stealer symptoms, And he was just like, "Nah," and he said nothing and saw him board the ship and go away. um, one of my favorite stories about the orcs is to give you perspective on how much Khorne loves like fighting in war. They got an orc war master, and he was fighting against like one of the chaos demons, I think, and they both died in the process. And Khorne loved the fight so much, he literally brought them back from the dead so they could continue fighting so he could watch. Cool, fun stuff. Um, I, uh, yeah, I can't really, um, I don't really think I have much else actually. I think I went through everything. I don't want to get your hopes up yet, but because I'm sorting through just like files upon files in my mind of Warhammer 40k knowledge, but like, uh, no, I genuinely think like I got through basically all the major stuff. Um, okay, well, yeah, I guess I'll leave you off with my favorite Warhammer 40k edit that I put at the end of the presentation. Um, and uh, yeah. Oh fuck! How did I forget? Don't worry, I'll bring up the video while I read this. So everyone in the the military thingy of the Imperium is given a las gun. It's like a plasma rifle, and it's jokingly called a flashlight because that's how effective it is. So, strive off to in the sunset with your flashlight as you face a Tyranid swarm. Nothing's gonna go wrong for sure. And that's all base. And the reason they give you such shitty weapons is that that's all they can really afford. Okay, let me get my little dark age edit. Yes, it's a little dark age edit. Okay, I think we're done here. I'm gonna cry. Why did I do this? Whenever I did it. Okay. And recording in 3, 2, 1.